Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again,
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome one and all to a Tuesday matinee edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dibler, of course.
hello.
Thanks, everybody, very much for being here today. Hope you all are enjoying your week. I just had to adjust that setting. Tuesday is a landscaping day here at the apartment complex, so there's always and all this kind of crazy stuff going on outside. I try to adjust the mic setting so it doesn't bleed into the room here, into the virtual studio here, and out to everybody. Nice crowd in here to start things off. 708 in the YouTube chat. That's a really big start for a Tuesday. 340 over on Rumble. Great to see you all here today. So we should make an announcement. We usually plug Russ's tour later on in the show, which we will do more officially. I'll get the link up. But thanks to our friends, Mr. James Carville.
Yes.
We will be streaming it for patrons on Saturday night. So that is another perk of membership. So if you're on the fence about signing up, patreon.com/do dissidents. Go there and you will get an email invite to watch that tour live from the comfort of your own home. So if you can't make it to New York, we are able to stream that thanks to our James Carville doppelganger. No, it won't be the actual James Carville. So
It's not going to be. Not that we know of.
Yeah. You should say featuring James Carville, then you'd sell out the tour. What do you got? 7 tickets left?
Got 7 left.
Yes. So James Carville will be joining us. Special
7?
appearance.
Yeah, I think 7.
I thought it was less because I thought we sold more the other night. But anyway, Russ will be giving the tour, and you can follow along live on a private Rumble link. That'll be at 7 p.m. Saturday night. So, yes, sign up if you'd like. All right. We got a big crowd in here. We got a lot to get to today. So thanks, everybody, for being here.
All right. There's a how the sausage is made thing. How did you break up my segments? Because I think I loaded the videos in wrong.
Well, I got
because I loaded in both my Israel things. And
I mean, you could do it in whatever
in between, right?
Yeah, you could do it in whatever order you want.
At this point, we'll just do it that way.
I have Rafah first.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have to load out videos.
All right, but are you listening to what I'm saying? I got Rafah first, and then the Bessent thing last. Do you have it in the opposite?
Yes, I
have. All right,
have.
so do it that way.
I have this Rafah thing, and I have Smotrich back to back.
Oh,
I loaded in the videos for both of those already.
Oh, all right. So just do those back to back then. Whatever. And then we'll do the beef. Yeah.
I mean, you can put something in between. I'm just saying the beef has to be last.
No, it's all right. Just do those back to back. They're connected anyway. They work together. They work together. I think they pair nicely together.
For those of you who have applied to be a producer here, this is what you're in for.
Here's what you're in for. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just do them back to back then. Whatever. I think they pair nicely anyway, right?
Sure.
They're connected. Gives it some continuity, right? Gives it some flow. All right. Well, hey, we do have some important news, some breaking news, everybody. The White House is under attack. That's right. The White House is currently under attack. Here's a scene from the White House. Yes, demolition is in place on the White House. The White House currently being destroyed, but not by Tren de Aragua or MS-13 or Antifa. No, by Donald Trump himself. So Donald Trump tweeted out yesterday, "I am pleased to announce that ground has been broken on the White House grounds to build the new big, beautiful White House ballroom. Completely separate from the White House itself, the East Wing is being fully modernized as part of this process and will be modernized." Yes, by modernized, he means, yes, destroyed. Will be fully modernized as part of this process and will be more beautiful than ever when it is complete. For more than 150 years, every president has dreamt about having a ballroom at the White House to accommodate the world's wealthiest pedophiles for lavish dinners. Oh, no, wait, that's not what it says. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. We have to be fair here. We have to be accurate. For more than 150 years, every president has dreamt about having a ballroom at the White House to accommodate people, that's it, for grand parties, state visits, etc. I am honored to be the first president to finally get this much needed project underway with zero cost to the American taxpayer. That's right. This is being done, supposedly at least, if we're to take them at their word, at no cost to the taxpayer. It's being funded by the big tech companies that have cozied up to Donald Trump. See, so that's much less corrupt than if it were funded by taxpayers, right? Funded by Google, by Palantir, right? By our friends, our business leaders, so to speak.
Yes.
Yes. The White House ballroom is being privately funded by many generous patriots, great American companies, and yours truly. This ballroom will be happily used for generations to come. President Donald J. Trump. And here's the Washington Post write-up. White House begins demolishing East Wing facade to build Trump's ballroom. Demolition crews on Monday began tearing down part of the White House to build President Donald Trump's long-desired ballroom, despite his pledge that construction of the $250 million addition wouldn't interfere with the existing building. Construction teams were demolishing a portion of the East Wing with a backhoe ripping through the structure, according to a photo shared with the Washington Post and two people who witnessed the activity and spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe it. A cluster of people, including members of the Secret Service, stood on the steps of the Treasury Department to watch the construction unfold, said one of the people. Sounds of construction were also audible on the White House campus, although the project was not easily visible to the public, given fencing on the grounds. Trump acknowledged the project in remarks Monday afternoon in the White House's East Room, gesturing to the wall behind him. And the Washington Post has some of that press conference here. They put together this little video summation of what's going on.
We're building a ballroom. They've wanted a ballroom for 150 years, and I'm giving that honor to this wonderful place. I think we should do it. This was the ballroom. It's right on the other side. You have a lot of construction going on, which you might hear periodically.
It's also it's our understanding that at least 3 of the interns that have been assaulted by my predecessors, it happened in the East Wing. Jack Kennedy, and then of course Bill Clinton. So these are horrible memories, and we wanted to honor them by tearing down places where these horrific incidents occurred.
We're going to have, we'll have the most beautiful ballroom in the country.
They should name it the Coinbase Ballroom.
Yeah, right. The Coinbase Ballroom.
So you'll have drinks,
the
cocktails,
Hawk
everything on
Ballroom.
this floor. And then they'll say, "Welcome to dinner." You walk into the ballroom, and you're going to see a ballroom the likes of which I don't think it'll be topped. It'll be the finest. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So here is a bit more. This is from the AP. This is about a minute. This takes you inside the East Wing, some of which is now going to be no more. Our beautiful, cherished East Wing. I'm just doing what Fox News would have done if Obama had done this.
Yes.
All the history in there, all the American history in there. To see a president so arrogantly disrespect our heritage in this way is really disgraceful. That's what Fox News would have said if this were done 15 years ago. I'm just trying to balance.
Some people say there was a desk there that still had sweat from Barbara Bush's ass cheeks on it. But, I had the desk moved. I don't see it myself.
Yes, and that is now lost to history thanks to Barack Hussein Obama.
Piece of the White House is disappearing. Demolition of the East Wing has begun, making way for President Trump's new $250 million ballroom. Franklin Roosevelt constructed the primary structure of the East Wing in 1942, and it's long served as the main entry point for guests and tourists. It was designed as a graceful passage toward the White House residence, lined with portraits of first ladies and framed to the south by the Jacqueline Kennedy Garden. Beyond its historic halls, the East Wing also houses the office of the First Lady and the White House Social Office. The White House on Monday started tearing down part of the East Wing to build President Donald Trump's ballroom. The Republican president has said he's adding a 90,000 square foot ballroom because the East Room, the largest room in the White House with an approximately 200-person capacity, is too small. Trump said the ballroom will fit 999 people.
Much bigger and better. The article continues. After a photograph of the demolition was first published Monday by the Washington Post and drew wide attention, the Treasury Department on Monday evening instructed employees not to take and share photos of the White House construction without permission, according to a person who spoke on the condition of anonymity to detail an internal email. The Treasury Department's headquarters is next to the White House, with some of its offices providing a close view of the East Wing. Trump has long touted his plans for the 90,000 square foot structure that would nearly double the footprint of the main building and its east and west wings. He had also suggested that the construction would not affect the existing White House. That's right. So here he is in July saying this won't interfere with the current building, which is one of my favorite places in the world.
With the current building, it won't interfere with the current building. It'll be near it, but not touching it. And pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite place. I love it.
I love it.
I love it. That's where they double teamed Marilyn, the Kennedy boys.
Yeah, exactly. Bobby told me some stories. Me some stories. Yes, he just wants to make sure he can still do blow in the bathroom. That was his concern. And so that's how it started. And this is, of course, how it's going. This is some video from the demolition there. Promises made, promises kept. A White House official speaking on the condition of anonymity to describe construction on the ballroom confirmed that the demolition process on the East Wing began Monday. Other parts of the project, such as efforts to preserve objects of historical value, have been underway for several weeks, the official said. Officials declined to provide an explanation for Trump's earlier comments that the new construction would not interfere with the existing building. Well, kind of understand why they would not provide an explanation for that. Officials have separately said that the ballroom would replace the East Wing, noting that the many changes made to that structure long before Trump's presidency. So all that beautiful history gone. The East Wing was constructed in 1902 and has been renovated and changed many times, with a second story added in 1942, the White House said in July. So blow me, they added. Trump last week also touted his planned ballroom during a dinner with executives from tech, finance, and defense industries, telling them that the project was fully financed after receiving donations as large as $25 million from dozens of companies, including Apple, Amazon, Lockheed Martin, and yes, Coinbase, as Russell said earlier. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, full disclosure. Yes, thank you for reminding us of that. Trump hosted that dinner in the East Room, currently the largest room in the White House, a frequent frustration for the president, who has insisted that the building needs a bigger venue to host large groups of VIPs. Yeah, nothing says public service like a VIP room at the White House. You understand? This is supposed to be a public service job. You're supposed to have VIPs at the White House. He also has said he repeatedly offered to construct a ballroom, but officials in the Obama and Biden administrations turned him down. So Isaiah Martin observes, if Obama had demolished parts of the White House like this, Fox News would have declared World War III. Yeah, I have to think you're right about that. Now, of course.
Well, you know, we still haven't seen his birth certificate, and it's not surprising someone from Kenya might not respect that history. We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
But it may be that he's Kenyan. This is evidence to me.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, you know, the Chud accounts were very, very quick to provide history lessons at all of the previous alterations of the White House. Teddy Roosevelt built the West Wing. Taft made the executive office oval. FDR added the entire East Wing and included an indoor pool for himself. Truman gutted the entire White House. Nixon added a bowling alley. Obama added a basketball court. Yes, very quick to point out all of those things. Diddy says Harry Truman ordered the interior of the White House to be gutted and rebuilt from 1948 to 1952 because decades of poor construction and piecemeal renovations had left the building on the verge of collapse. Engineers declared the structure unsafe for occupancy after a series of alarming incidents showed its dangerous state. The rest were additions, not subtractions. You can't even math. Yeah, that is a good point. Teddy Roosevelt added the West Wing to sort of separate the staff from his family, like a designated workspace. FDR added the swimming pool for physical therapy because he had polio. Nixon put the bowling alley in the basement, so it didn't involve tearing down any of the existing structures. And of course, Barack Obama did not build a basketball court, which is news to Politics Matter. Where was your outrage at the construction of a basketball court at the White House under Obama, which American taxpayers were forced to fund? Meanwhile, you were outraged at a ballroom paid for by donors instead of taxpayers. That's just weird. And Jackson Tweetin says, you can see from this picture that Obama's basketball court is virtually the same thing as tearing down the White House. Notice, what is that basketball court on? It's on a tennis court. So what they did was they put basketball hoops at the tennis court. So they basically converted the tennis court into a basketball court, which costs whatever it costs to put up a couple of basketball hoops. And I would argue that actually the fact that this is being paid for by large oligarchic tech companies is actually more dangerous to the democratic fabric than if it were funded by taxpayers. So the idea, taxpayers aren't paying for it, Amazon is. Well, isn't that worse if you have a brain? Like, if you have a functioning brain, don't you think people, large heads of these giant tech companies who are, you know, paying to basically sponsor a section of the White House, don't you think that's a worse statement than if it were taxpayer funded? And yeah, there's the Obama basketball court at the White House, quote unquote.
Until Venus and Serena, black people did not play tennis.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You know, look, this is a story that I don't particularly care about because I'm not attached to like American mythology in this way. So, you know, I look at it and I think whatever. At the construction of the ballroom itself, I think it is troubling that, like, you know, what is it? Northrop Grumman or whoever, Lockheed Martin, you know, could like potentially have a plaque there as a donor. Like, that part of it is obviously troubling. As for the alteration of the White House, look, I'm just not jingoistic in that way that I get really attached to these kinds of symbols. But I know the conservative base is, and I know that had Barack Obama overseen the demolition of the East Wing, this would have been Fox News outrage porn for months on end. Months, if not years.
Literally months.
Yeah.
They never would have stopped talking about
it.
It would have been an issue in the next presidential campaign, even if he wasn't running.
Yeah,
they would have made that. You can't trust Democrats with America. They don't even respect that White House.
Yeah.
They don't respect America's house. No, I mean, those people are completely ridiculous in terms of the principle of the thing. I agree with, okay. I am somebody who loves historic buildings from ruins on through to, you know, places like Monticello. I really appreciate that. So to me, yes, I can't imagine that they couldn't extend this without destroying a structure that was already there. I think that's probably what they should have done. But the greater issue here is it's yet another example of the NASCARization of America.
Right.
And you could see it everywhere. You can even see it. It's not my thing, but you're into sports. You know, man, when I was a kid, it was Shea Stadium,
Right.
right? It was Shea Stadium. It was named for a local luminary. It was local. It was connected to the community that the stadium was in. City Field conveys a very different meaning.
Right.
Over the last couple of years, I've traveled around the country a lot. And when I travel, I go to museums. And when I've gone to museums of technology, of industry, you have a very popular one outside of Chicago. I forget what the name of it is. But you could see the space program, man. Space program is all about the public investment in the space program. And then as you go, it becomes all private. It becomes all SpaceX. It becomes all, this is donated by Elon Musk.
Right.
Whereas the other stuff is coming out of NASA. That is representative of something that was core to the American identity that has been lost. You know, the federal style of architecture was partly intended to eliminate the classist implications of the raised stoop, so you wouldn't be elevated above other people. That's why real federal style buildings, they either have a very low stoop or none, or it's right at street level, so you're not above the people. This is there were elements in the American Revolution that we would recognize today as very communist, really. There was a sub-faction called the Levelers that felt that all the income and wealth and land should be redistributed. Like, that was already germinating there. Now, of course, Alexander Hamilton wound up kind of having his way in terms of the economic direction of the country. But that basic idea of egalitarianism, that we had a revolution and that it was a people's revolution, whatever the realities in terms of how different groups have been treated, that was part of how Americans thought of themselves. And you see it in the way that they handled public works projects. They had a very proprietary, this belongs to the people vision, frankly, not very different from the Soviets in terms of the way that they saw the government projects as being the people's. Right. Sure. Americans had that concept. And yeah, you've seen it in sports where you see all these stadiums are named for donors. We just had this in New York at Lincoln Center, where they renamed Geffen Hall for not Avery Fisher Hall. They just renamed it Geffen Hall. They opened it up for donation, and then they renamed it. Could have been worse. Could have been Apple Hall, but
yeah. Eli Lilly Hall.
Eli Lilly Hall, but selling these things off to the highest bidder, that's not how we used to do it. And doing that at the White House, it sends a message. It conveys something to people about who you are to look up to and admire. And these are no longer great civic leaders. These are no longer great figures in history. These are your corporate owners, your corporate masters.
Yep, indeed. Peasants Revolt, thanks for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate that. John Olmsted says, so Grand Plattner has a Totenkopf tattoo on his breast, waiting to see if it resembles the SS version of it, say variation of the Chetnik flag. Yeah, I heard something about his tattoos and his old Reddit posts. Yeah. Oh, George, thanks for the $50. Let's have a cowbell for Oh, George. Says, hey, guys, I ran with your idea and wrote the lyrics to Werewolves of Yerushalayim. Hope you enjoy. Emailed, boom. VP James Donald Bowman. Perfect name for a serial killer, just realized. Yes, we did get that email. They were good. They were good. I'm going to write you back. We're probably going to use a lot of that. So, yes, well done, Oh, George. Werewolves of
God
Yerushalayim.
damn it. I got to sit down and practice. I keep forgetting.
Yeah, you got to practice. It's not hard. It's
an easy song.
Yeah. Eric Rousseau says they got Napoleon's family jewels, but Macron's family jewels are safe. His wife. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. That's right.
Good one, man.
Good one. I like that. Yeah, we should have covered the Louvre. Xander Varkov, gee whiz, I don't know, but I'm beginning to think that these Israel characters are a rather unsavory bunch. Yes, I don't blame you.
Sure are.
Everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy, and so I don't comply. It's landscaping day here also. Fucking conspiracies. Yeah, that's right. What are the odds of that? Got to look into that. Let's see here. Furrow Squeen says, Keaton, I'm telling you this is a friend. I care about your health. You need to take a pelargonium supplement. What the hell is that? It has natural antibiotic properties. Any cold and virus, etc. will be shortened. Write it down. All right, I'll look into it. Yeah, I just have like a post-nasal drip. Like, I'm not sick anymore, but I'm still very congested. We all are. Like, my kids got sick from school, and like, we're not like sick anymore. Like, we don't feel lousy or anything. We don't have fevers and like nothing. I never had a fever. But yeah, man, pipes are still quite clogged. It is quite annoying. That's my cough too. It's like that nasal drip cough, you know.
I'm telling you, man,
Nasty
your kids and wives, they're bags of germs.
Yeah, a lot of germs. Nocturnal Human, why do our public servants need a ballroom? Yes, exactly. Good question. Abiding says they must have the gift of 2025, the pool's edge of my life as Corn Pop, the unauthorized biography. There you go. Abiding says, I was honored to blurb The Pool's Edge, which uncovers Corn Pop's triumphs and struggles, revealing the truth of that faithful summer of 62. Thank you. I love the building, says Nocturnal Human. It's my favorite building. It's the whole ballroom game. That's right. Thank you, Nocturnal Human. All right. We will move right on along. You got some Israel-Palestine news, of course.
Yeah, okay. So this whole segment is very built around Drop Sites reporting. So shout out to them. They have been one of the few outlets reporting this, actually. Not surprisingly, as we often find, if the corporate media can avoid reporting a story like this, they will. There's very little American domestic reporting on this. But here's Drop Site. Ryan Grimm reports U.S. officials knew within hours that the Rafah explosion, which Netanyahu used to justify halting all Gaza aid and resuming airstrikes, was actually caused by an Israeli settler bulldozer running over unexploded ordnance, not a Hamas tunnel attack. Despite that, Netanyahu blamed Hamas, suspended aid, and ordered new bombings. After Washington told Israel it knew the truth, Netanyahu quietly announced he would reopen the crossings in a few hours. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. Does it make any sense that Hamas is making these Herculean efforts to go along with the humiliation ritual of trying to find bodies that are sitting under tons of rubble while they're getting back bodies that have clearly been tortured and starved to death? That's what they're getting back from Israel, and they're still complying with these insane demands. So it makes sense they'd come flooding up out of the tunnels to attack the IDF. Why would they do something like that? So they subsequently updated this. Kurt Mills, executive director of the American Conservative, I guess he's one of those not getting $7,000 a post, reports that a senior U.S. administration official told him Hamas did nothing. An Israeli tank hit an unexploded IED that has probably been there for months. Yes, like Laos, like Cambodia. You go visit there, as I'm planning to do in a few months. You're supposed to not go off the paths. This is decades later. This just happened. Didn't Israel drop more bombs than were dropped in World War II on Gaza? There's unexploded ordnance everywhere in that country. This is something they're going to be dealing with for a very long time, unexploded ordnance there, if history is any guide. So the Trump administration responded to this. They were asked about it by Al Jazeera, and they did not deny it. The administration remains focused on implementing the peace agreement, and we are working vigorously to do so. We are not going to detail ongoing diplomatic conversations. So that's a yes. That's it. That's a yes. The Israelis made shit up, as we knew they were going to do, in order to continue the attack. Now, I think from what we've seen, including the way the Trump administration leaned on them to back down, They really do want this to stop. I think partly because, as we'll see in the next segment, there's a lot of loot to be made. They see a lot of loot to be made. These are all real estate people. Trump's a real estate guy. Kushner's a real estate guy. Witkoff's a real estate guy. There's a lot of real estate opportunity there in Gaza, which they cannot take advantage of if Israel continues its genocidal campaign, at least openly like this. So Trump was asked a little bit about this in a press conference, and he gave pretty typically insane answers. He said that after his strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, only the little issue of Hamas remains in the Middle East, which he vowed will be taken care of very quickly and possibly very violently. Same way that we conceived Farron. He was saying Hamas violating the ceasefire agreement. He was referring to the incident in Rafah yesterday where 2 Israeli soldiers were killed and others wounded. According to Drop Site's reporting, the Trump administration knows the explosion was caused by Israeli tanks or bulldozers driving over unexploded ordnance. All right, so let's see what he said.
They said, we never had a president that would let us do it, but I let him do it, and it totally opened up the Middle East. It took the cloud over the, we had a dark cloud over the Middle East, and now it's all,
he's talking about letting Israel strike Iran.
We have a little situation relatively with Hamas, and that will be taken care of very quickly if they don't straighten it out themselves, because they're in violation of their agreement.
To the violence in the Middle East, what steps is the administration taking to maintain the ceasefire?
Well, a lot of steps, and right now it's in the hands of others. We have 59 countries that agreed to the deal. We have a peace in the Middle East for the first time ever. We made a deal with Hamas that they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be.
As we will see, the Israelis are killing Palestinians literally every single day, every day since the ceasefire began.
Yeah, they never stopped.
No.
Nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that. So they went in, and I don't believe it was the leadership, but they had some rebellion in there among themselves, and they killed some people,
Okay, so now with Trump, he is a man who we forensically deconstructed this and came to the conclusion this guy is so uninformed and fundamentally stupid that he really believed that Abrego Garcia had the tattoos on his hand that had been quite transparently photoshopped with, we assume, no intention of claiming those are real tattoos. They were decoding the tattoos. And he insisted to a reporter that those are the actual tattoos. I think that because Trump is saying it was some rebels, that doesn't mean that he's lying. I think they tell him what they want to tell him, and he's not particularly curious about it either.
A lot of people. But this is a violent group. You probably noticed over the last 100 years, this is a very violent group of people. And they got very rambunctious, and they did things that they shouldn't be doing. And if they keep doing it, then we're going to go in and straighten it out, and it'll happen very quickly and pretty violently, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're the violent people. The people who committed the genocide are not violent people. It's the people who acted out of desperation that are the violent people.
Well, I don't even know who he's talking about, because he says there, if you notice, over the past 100 years, right? Over the past 100 years, right? So what does that mean? That just means Arabs and Muslims. That's all that means. Yeah. And he said in a previous press conference, he said, Israel killed 70,000 of them, Hamas, meaning all the Palestinians they killed were Hamas. Right. So he clearly doesn't know or care who or what he's talking about.
No. So little updates from today, actually. In the past 24 hours, Gaza's health ministry reported an additional 13 killed, 6 of whom were recovered from the rubble, and 8 injured arriving at hospitals. This brings the recorded death toll from the Israeli genocide in Gaza to 68,229 and 170,369 injuries, likely 3 to 5 times higher. Yeah, I'd say that's probably true. This is part of why I think they don't want the war to really end either, because the more they dig through that rubble, the more they're going to be able to find accurate numbers of how many people they killed. How long are they going to be able to keep journalists from going in there, Western journalists, to document what they're actually finding? You know, that's I saw very interesting. There's a Chinese professor who does lectures that have been getting popular lately. He presented a very interesting theory in a video recently about what Israel is doing, and it kind of accords with some of what we've speculated. He said it's an old Chinese military tactic for generals to maneuver their men by a river so that their backs are to the river and they have no choice but to fight to the death. That the Israelis would not commit a genocide in broad daylight like this for any reason other than to turn the world against itself in order to force all Jews into that kind of a defensive posture. I think there's something to that. Finally, only 986 aid trucks enter Gaza since ceasefire began 11 days ago. Gaza's government media office says just 986 trucks have entered since the ceasefire took effect on October 10th, far below the 6,600 trucks times 11 days agreed upon. Only 14 trucks carried cooking gas and 28 diesel for bakeries, hospitals, and generators. Officials warn the flow, averaging just 89 trucks a day instead of the promised 600, of which 50 are required to be fuel trucks, deepens Israel's policy of starvation and humanitarian extortion against Gaza's 2 million plus residents. And this is how it's going to go, and this is how we knew it was going to go, and this is why nobody who understands how Israel operates was celebrating. They've spent 76 years jerking the world around. This is what they do. They say yes if you force them to say yes, and then they just don't comply. And when they don't comply, they blame it on terrorists. They claim to be the victims. This is what they're going to do. There's no way they're just going to, in good faith, stop genociding these people. Their intention is genocide. This is Amalek, and they're trying to wipe them out. This is just playing America and the international community because they see the pressure is too high. They can't just get they were hoping they could just by using this explosion as a premise. I think they really did get some pressure from Trump. I think they have their own motives. But here is Ben Gvir, one of their cast of genocidal maniacs that sits in their government. We're going to talk about Smotrich a little later, saying straight out, we got the hostages back, now let's go. Nothing is set in stone. Turn that down. Nothing is set in stone. On the contrary, right now we have the opportunity, especially today, to stop everything and say, hold on, the hostages, thank God, have been returned. That was essentially the main argument for why we're not continuing the war. And now we must return to combat. We must return to war. We need to unleash the gates of hell on them. This guy's in the government. He's not like a random guy saying this. This is their intention. Netanyahu is in full agreement with them, I think we can safely say. He's more concerned with working out the diplomatic means of getting away with it. He's looking for a pretext to do it. He tried to go, now they got the hostages back. He tried to use this explosion as a pretext. Trump leaned on him. Now he's going to bide his time and find another pretext. Or they might go back. They might legit go back to doing what they've done for 76 years, what they're doing right now in the West Bank. We were going to cover it today. Maybe we'll do it Thursday, the attacks on the settlers and their olive groves this week. They'll go back to that tactic with whatever people remain in Gaza, slowly taking it away from them if they have to do it that way. But the idea that the Israelis are in good faith going to live alongside the Palestinians, that's absolutely absurd. They never had any intention of doing that.
Well, yeah, obviously. And the hostages, being in captivity gave Israel a bullshit story for 2 years with the, mantra being, well, if they just give up the hostages, the war will stop. Right. And that was such transparent bullshit that a vast majority of Israeli people understood that was bullshit and that the hostages were just the excuse to continue the war. And then Netanyahu really wasn't all that concerned about getting them back. Pressure being what it was, both from within Israel and obviously from the outside world. They had to get the hostages back. And all that means is that they have to come up with new bullshit stories to continue murdering Palestinians. That's all that means. Right. It doesn't mean it stops. It means they have to come up with new bullshit stories about how we had no choice but to do it. And the first one was the supposed impetus for having broken the ceasefire, which was, well, there's this explosion here. Well, now we know that they lied about that. Now we have proof that was a nonsense excuse to go back in. And yeah, they're going to just keep coming up with more and more. They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop fighting. They're just going to have to come up with more bullshit stories. They've been doing this for as long as they've been a state, right?
Yes.
Like this is not a new thing. They've been bullshitting their entire existence. It is, and I have to say this, as a Jewish guy, I can say this perhaps with some license. It is somewhat of a Jewish tradition to come up with bullshit excuses for why you do what you do. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you saying
I was going to say so it predates Israel in that way?
Are you saying Israel is Jewing the world?
Yeah, exactly. It kind of predates Israel that way. It really does. It really does. Oh, I would have, I would have paid the check.
I would have. I was reaching for my wallet.
I was reaching for it. You
paid. You paid before I got.
You paid before.
I didn't want to embarrass you. I didn't want to have a whole thing.
Exactly. I didn't want to have a whole thing, I didn't want you to be insulted. So yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, that is clearly their MO. There was never any question about it. And this is what made it so absurd. These people insisting that we bend over backwards to give Trump credit for having solved this. He didn't solve anything. It was obvious. I mean, it's been obvious. Whoever is serious about solving this, who sits at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, can solve it if they simply say no more money and no more weapons. That's it. It's solved. This is the easiest thing in the world to solve. It just takes some will, and none of them have it for various reasons. But that's what you would do if you wanted to solve this, not this dance, right? Where, we're going to get the hostages back, and then there's going to be a partial withdrawal, and there's going to be a yellow line that they're not allowed to cross. And no, it's as simple as we're not giving you any more money. We're not giving you any more weapons. You've proven time and again you have absolutely zero regard for civilian life. And so we're not going to give you any military aid, period. That's all it is.
Yeah,
That's
they
all
have no regard for civilian life either, though. So they're all on the same page.
Of course.
There's all a struggle over interests. I think at this point, you're talking about somebody who's blowing up fishermen as a pretext to invade Venezuela. Trump doesn't give a shit what happens to these brown Muslim people. He wipes his ass with these people. I think it's the real estate economic potential of it. He doesn't want Netanyahu fucking it up.
Well, yeah, that. And look, I think he does have, obviously, the kind of gargantuan ego to the point where he actually does want to go down in history as having solved this, right? It's just, it does not. It's just not an option for him to do what needs to be done, just like it wasn't an option for Joe Biden to do what needed to be done, or Barack Obama, or any of these people. I mean, all these people had varying opinions on Israel. You could tell Barack Obama had particular animosity for Netanyahu, but he still has to toe the line of they're a key ally, and so we have to partner with them. And that is the sort of overarching dynamic of this, and that can be undone very easily with some political will. But that will does not exist in Washington right now. It exists in America right now, which is different. that's different. And that's where, if there's any hope in this, you can find it, because, for the first time ever now, most Americans, not just Democrats or liberals or progressives, most Americans are more sympathetic to the Palestinians than they are to the Israelis. And so political will can be generated from there, and then it has to make its way into the halls of power, which is a whole nother heavy lift. This doesn't have to be like, if this were for real, it wouldn't have been so complicated.
Well, of course.
The fact that it's complicated is because we are stuck in these sort of tricky negotiations with people who all they do is lie and bullshit. Yep. All right. Let's see here. Michael Castillo says, gifted 1 due dissidence membership. Oh, that's very mensch-like of you, Michael Castillo.
What a mensch.
What a mensch.
See, he's not Jewing our members down.
Yeah, right, exactly. Good morning, gentlemen. May I ask, what are you guys' favorite Italian joints in New York City? I can't get New York out of my mind. Free Palestine.
Oh, that's nice. I like De Gennaro's. It could be because it was the original site of Umberto's Clam House where Crazy Joey Gallo got whacked. But if you want kind of like American Italian food, like manicotti, that kind of thing, it's a very good place for that.
There you go. I'm biased to, my favorite like Little Italy places are like the sandwich shops, like not the sit down red sauce places. What's the place? Aleva used to be amazing, but they sold it now. It's not the same. Parisi Bakery, I don't know if it's still there. That's amazing.
That's still there.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great sandwich shop. And then in terms of like a sit down place, okay, so the most underrated sort of Italian food section of New York City is where very close to where I used to live, which is Graham Avenue in East Williamsburg. They have amazing Italian places there, whether it's bakeries, delis, and sandwich shops, or like sit down restaurants. They got a ton of them. It's its own like mini Little Italy right there. So that's the Graham Avenue stop off the L train, which is 3 stops out from Manhattan and Brooklyn. I used to live really close to there, and they have some great stuff there. All
right. Probably my favorite place in New York. I like it so much. I usually go there on my birthday as part of my birthday ritual. Gargiulo's at Coney Island.
There you go.
That is old school 1920 beautiful restaurant with the original decor. That's very nice if you want to have like a real experience.
Well, East Williamsburg, which is near Graham Avenue, is in East Williamsburg, but one of the oldest, it might be the oldest continually operating Italian place in the city is Bamonte's, and I forget where that is. If it's on Skillman or something like that. It's not on Graham Avenue, but it's that section. So that's one of them, but then there's a ton of them there. All right, what do we got here? We got Sean Hurl says, hey, DD, love from Scotland, all the best. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate that very much, my friend. Eric Cusseau says, come to Venezuela and experience our combat fishing adventure. A once-in-a-lifetime experience, really. Only once. Yes, exactly. Only once. No return flight necessary. Professor Brown note about DD's success. Well, it's the finest duo dynamics, the wifeiest dobule act since Statler and Waldorf. There you go. Thank you, Professor Brown. Vianticus Prime, it's a problem when drug companies pay the FDA, but it's not a problem when tech companies pay for a ballroom. Yep, makes sense. That's right. Eric Cusseau, you forgot about the Obama glory hole. There you go. Ha ha, good one. Furrows Queen says,
that's in the West Wing. That's still there.
Yeah, exactly. Word is that they're putting ice hockey in the grounds of the White House. Go Leafs, go. They haven't won the Stanley Cup since 1967. This is their good luck charm to rub Trump's hair as they get on the ice. Well, if you're a Toronto sports fan, for us, Queen, the Blue Jays are going to the World Series. That was quite a game last night. That was an amazing game. Professor Brown note about street sound recording. Well, in the movies, the guy just fires a gun in the air to silence the crowd. Sure, if you want the boring way, a directional mic.
Yeah, I should make myself more clear because we got recommendations. Yes, we understand that there's professional equipment. We work with a phone. And even if we want to make that kind of investment, I can't handle that because then you'd have to hire a camera crew. I can't walk around with a boom and a real camera. Like that's the reason we use that part of the reason because So what I have found in my research so far is it's such a niche market. They haven't really made shit that's iPhone or iPad compatible, phone compatible, specifically for that, because who needs it? Like, unless you're specifically like a news content creator working with that equipment, why would you need that? What's your market for a top of the line shotgun mic that's compatible with an iPhone?
Right. Exactly. All right, what do we got over here? We got 2241 in the viewer column on YouTube. And come on, we're 6 away. We're 659 likes. We need a few more. Let's smash that like button. Let's get that going so we can hit our 666. Thank you all very much. Stoop Sign says, going to a Kate for Congress volunteer party tomorrow. Should be shitlib central. Can't wait to do coke with a yenta so high strong it just never kicks in. I swear this dog shit blow just never kicks in. Cat for Congress. Cat it's disrespectful, but I can't pronounce her name, so I won't try. I will try. Abu Ganala, whatever her name is, Abu Gazanala in Illinois.
I don't even know who we're talking about. I just thought
she's the young blonde woman who got arrested protesting at the ICE facility. She's running for Congress. She is a Palestinian.
I know nothing about this.
Yeah, I misread it. I said Kate for Congress, but it's Cat for Congress. Well, there you go. Stoop Sign. Good for you. All right, 737 likes. Wow, you guys came through. All right. Should we do Israel part 2?
Part 2. Okay, so Donald Trump made a promise to us, and he really has not lived up to it. Which one, you're asking? Well, maybe this one.
Terrorists are pouring into our country. Drug dealers are pouring into our country. There's never been anything like it at levels that no country has ever seen, not just us. No country has ever seen.
All right. So he said repeatedly on the campaign trail, terrorists are pouring over the border, and Donald Trump is going to stop the terrorists from pouring over the border. And yet, just last month, we had former Al-Qaeda leader Al-Jawlani arriving in Washington, D.C., for a presidential visit. This is the former head of Al-Qaeda. I thought Trump was going to stop terrorists from coming to the country. Instead, he's taking pictures with them. But that's not all. Far-right Israeli minister visits Washington after years of being shunned. How do you say his name? Bezalel?
I thought it was Bezalel.
Bezalel?
Beelzebub?
Yeah.
Yeah, Beelzebub. It does sound like Beelzebub. Or what was the devil's name in what's the other devil's name? Azazel, right? Isn't that a devil name too? So it's like a combination between
Asmodeus,
and Azazel, right? Yeah.
All right, so let's just call him Beelzebub for the rest of the segment. So Beelzebub Smotrich, the Israeli finance minister, had drawn rebukes from the Biden administration for his opposition to a ceasefire in Gaza and his support for Jewish settlers in the West Bank. Now, just to be perfectly clear, the Biden administration's policy was not fundamentally different from the Trump administration policy, but because of who their base is, they have to be able to give the Yentas a fig leaf. They need to feel virtuous. He wouldn't meet with Smotrich. He's doing everything he can. With Trump, he doesn't have those concerns. He doesn't have to virtue signal by not meeting with these people. So you think I'm exaggerating? You think I'm being hyperbolic? No, the guy is literally a terrorist.
You just have to listen to Smotrich and to...
There's the former head of Israeli intelligence. Don't take my word for it. It's the former head of Shin Bet.
Smotrich is a Jewish terrorist.
You're actually the one who arrested him in August 2005. Let me turn that down a little. You found bottles of burnt fuel, right? There were a whole lot of flammables in that house. Later, we also found boxes and boxes of road spikes. They were planning on throwing on the roads.
He had all the instruments in order to use it for a terror action, but he kept silence. And because we do not interrogate Jewish terrorists the way we interrogate Palestinian terrorists, he did not confess. And this is why he was not in jail. When it comes to Ben Gvir, he supports.
Yeah, so here's Ben Gvir, the one who says spitting on Christians shouldn't be a crime because it's an old custom. This is the security minister in Israel.
The assassination of Prime Minister Rabin when he was a youngster.
He was once filmed holding a hood emblem he claimed was from the car of former Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, an architect of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process.
You managed to snatch the emblem from Rabin's car. The emblem is a symbol, and it symbolizes that just like we got to, what did he say?
Sorry, it says it symbolizes just like we got to the emblem, we can get to Rabin as well.
We can get to Rabin as well. I think one is justified in committing horrible acts against him.
Yeah, Rabin was murdered by a fanatical right-wing Israeli.
Yep.
3 weeks later.
Ben Gvir, he was not recruited to
So she said Rabin was killed 3 weeks after that footage was taken.
military service because he was condemned in court as one who support Jewish terror.
He's the follower of a racist movement.
All right, so that's Ben Gvir. That's your security minister. Beelzebub Smotrich there is the finance minister, and they're terrorists. They're both terrorists. You got Ben Gvir couldn't even get into the Israeli military because he's a terrorist, and this is who Donald Trump. You know, man, he promised he was going to keep terrorists out of the country, but here he is. Quds News Network. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent met with Israel's infamous minister, Beelzebub Smotrich, to reaffirm the strong U.S.-Israel relationship, according to a statement by the U.S. Treasury. During the meeting, Bessent expressed appreciation for the minister's leadership. This is what I keep trying to tell you. This is why I have so little toleration for any kind of lionization of these people. You are ruled by criminals. You are ruled by criminals. Bessent is a criminal. Donald Trump is a criminal. Bondi is a criminal. Witkoff is a criminal. Kushner is a criminal. They are fucking criminals. They're all criminals. Now here's Beelzebub kind of saying the soft part out loud. That's what's great about how deranged these people are, because they give away the game. Here he is explaining where Palestinians are actually native to. I heard the Spanish foreign minister and understand the ignorance. I heard him say that you can't do this to people whose homeland is Gaza. For 75% of Gaza's population, it's not their homeland. Do you know what their homeland is? Haifa, Tiberias, Accra, Jaffa. In other words, Israel. This is a refugee population that has been there since 1940.
Refugees from where? From Israel.
From where? From Israel. So you're admitting that their homeland is the land that you stole from them.
Right.
What other interpretation of that is there? Now, where are they from? These people who say that this is their land. So now you have Beelzebub there says it straight out, that the land of Israel, that they're calling Israel now, actually is the homeland of these people. What's their homeland? All right, so their foreign minister is from Morocco. Beelzebub is from Ukraine. Yoav Gallant, another sick bastard. This is the one who said they should cut off all the power and water. He's the defense minister. He's from Poland. Their UN representative is from Romania. Netanyahu, also from Poland. Yair Lapid, the opposition leader, that's Serbia he's from. Benny Gantz from Romania, Hungary. Isaac Herzog from Ireland. and Ben Gvir is from Iraq. Not one of these people is from there. Ben Gvir is the only one who's actually from anywhere in that region, but they're going to come and tell you that this is their indigenous homeland and the Palestinians are wrong to want their homes back. Even after Beelzebub just admitted straight out, that's actually where they're from. Incredible. But wait, there's more. There's more. So here's, you may have seen this clip. It's worth revisiting, given Trump's promise to keep terrorists out of the country. Here is Beelzebub admitting that the campaign in Gaza is genocidal, and he's very excited about keeping it genocidal. Would I want to avoid the need to bring even a single grain into the Gaza Strip altogether? Not even for the civilians? Could be. We're breaking Gaza apart, leaving it as a pile of rubble with total unprecedented destruction in the world. And the world still hasn't stopped us. I think this was back in March. The minimum required will reach the population simply so the world won't stop us and accuse us of war crimes. For 2.5 months, we didn't allow humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip. What will enter in the coming days is the bare minimum. Civilians in Gaza will get a pita and a plate of food, and that's it. Okay, so this was during that first so-called ceasefire. That's exactly what we see in the videos. People standing in line waiting for someone to dish some food onto their plate, some bowl of soup. The truth is, until the last hostage returns, we shouldn't even give water in the Gaza Strip. Now, if that's not a terrorist, what is? If that's not a terrorist, what is? If that is not a psychopathic, genocidal terrorist, tell me what is. Speaking of psychopathic, genocidal terrorists, Witkoff and Kushner went on 60 Minutes and were asked, after witnessing the aftermath of Israel's campaign, genocidal campaign in Gaza, whether they thought that they had committed a genocide. Let's hear what they had to say.
Before the hostages actually come out, you decide to go to Gaza. And what did you see?
It looked almost like a nuclear bomb had been set off in that area. And then you see these people moving back, and I asked the IDF, where are they going? Like, I'm looking around, these are all ruins. And they said, well, they're going back to the areas where their destroyed home was, onto their plot, and they're going to pitch a tent. And it's very sad, because you think to yourself, they really have nowhere else to go.
Would you say now, having been there, that it was genocide?
No. No.
Absolutely not. No.
No.
Absolutely not. That's
Absolutely
incredible. Because okay, so what's happening there? They know that public opinion is overwhelmingly worldwide, much less in America, public opinion is that Israel committed a genocide there. And they feel like they have to signal compassion for the Palestinian people in order to be taken seriously as honest actors. So Kushner is projecting that, yes, I see, it's, where are these poor people going to go? But then he didn't think through what the implications of what he's saying are, so she follows through with the, to her credit, logical implications of what he witnessed, and they can't say that. No, absolutely not. Now, what's the common denominator here? So we want to bring all this back around. So what business was Trump in? And still is. He still has the Trump organization. Real estate. What business does Steve Witkoff come in? What is he in? Real estate. What business is Jared Kushner in? Real estate. So you wonder why they seem to be legitimately leaning on Netanyahu to stop. What's their motive? They don't care about these people. Come on. They won't even call it a genocide. Well, look what Beelzebub Smotrich had to say about the discussions he was having with the president about the future of the Gaza Strip. Let's talk about the day after the war. in terms of real estate. You have often spoken out about the renewal of Jewish settlement in the Gaza Strip. A simple question, where, in your opinion, should the first settlement in the Strip be established? I admit I didn't expect this. Just so you know, it's not funny. There's a business plan. Listen to me carefully. There's a business plan set by the most professional people there are. And it's on President Trump's table. And how this thing turns into a real estate bonanza. I'm not kidding. It pays off. I have started negotiations with the Americans. I say this not jokingly now because I also demand we paid a lot of money for this war. So we need to divide how to make a percentage on the land marketing later in Gaza. And now, no kidding, we've done the demolition phase, which is always the first phase of urban renewal. Now we need to build, it's much cheaper.
את שלב ההריסה, שהוא תמיד השלב הראשון בהתחדשות העירונית עשינו, עכשיו צריך לבנות, זה הרבה יותר זול. בוא נדבר על היום שאחרי.
Okay, all right, so there you go. Keaton, I guess they probably knocked out all the internet in his neighborhood with the construction. But there you go. There you go. You've got a bunch of real estate interests collaborating to redevelop the Gaza Strip. And you got Smotrich there meeting with Bessent, the George Soros's former right-hand man, responsible for crashing the British pound, something that, a lot of Trump supporters were very upset about until Trump appointed him his Treasury Secretary. So if you want to know why has Trump been so insistent on Netanyahu not using their various tactics of deception, as they always have, to keep the war going, that's why, man. There's a lot of money to be made over there. There's a lot of loot to be made. That's all these people care about.
Russell, can you hear me?
I hear you.
You hear? Okay. Sorry. My browser just had a complete meltdown. Totally froze everything.
I thought maybe the construction crew knocked out your internet.
Yeah, no, it was a Chrome issue. Everything just went completely haywire. Like the displays just glitched out entirely. So sorry about that. I'm back. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm done.
Oh, you're done? That was your yeah. That was your take. All right. Well, we will just we'll leave it there then. I guess it'll end with your take. Yeah, let me just get this set back up again. Here, do you want to read some Rumble rants or some super chats, whatever you want? Because I got to load in my stuff again.
Okie doke. All right. All right. On the start. Yep. All right. J.A. How do we save our boy Jimmy from his Trump glazing syndrome? It's getting maddening and embarrassing. It's not too late. I mean, I've seen he's been doing a lot of segments about ICE excesses and that kind of thing. So I don't know, man. You had a lot of people when Trump first got elected. I think there's a tendency, no matter who gets elected, man, people want to hope for the best. But I think a lot of people have come around on that. Matrix, thank you for the $4.99. Celeste Holmes, the ballroom is just a permanent monument to Trump's ego, his Washington, D.C. Trump tramp stamp, if you will. I think there's probably a lot to that. Zaldivar, Russ, you should invite Norm to Gargiulo's. That would be pretty funny, man, although Norm is a vegan. So what he could eat there would be a little limited. You can't even eat pasta, right? Because there's eggs usually in the way they would make pasta.
Can vegans not eat pasta? Wow,
I would think, because they don't eat eggs, right?
I guess so.
You're generally going to make. I mean, I'm sure there's some kind of vegan pasta, but they're not going to have it at Gargiulo's.
Get the fuck out of here with
Get the fuck out of here with that fucking shit.
Yeah.
You're the third one today. Get out of here and tell all the rest of you fucking vegan weirdo freaks.
Yeah.
Bad with names. Hey, guys, I heard the Nobel Pizza Prize winner was Marina Tequila muchacho. That's pretty crazy, man. It is pretty crazy. The Progressive Michigander. All right, yeah, man, I saw your email about that. Like, yeah, I don't think that's going to solve it. I've used my Samsung Q2U USB microphone plugged into my cell phone via USB-C and have done a few interviews with it using the microphone arm from my desk stand. It rejects sound pretty well. Not that kind of sound, man. Not that kind of sound. Not. You're talking, look, without the good thing is now you do have this post-production AI. If you didn't have that, like the old lady, that would have been unsalvageable without AI post-production. I don't know that there's much you could do other than, what some people said, which is probably right, is all you can really do. I saw some people do this, like hand the mic to the person they're interviewing, but then you have to get them to hold it very close to their mouth. So that's another thing. Like you're holding this whole thing. You don't want to like be shoving your fingers down their fucking tonsils with the thing. So it's very hard to get right in on their mouth. Because a lot of people commented my vocals were clear. That's probably because I'm bringing it right to my mouth, but not doing it as much with them. I did have a handheld for a little while that worked pretty good. And then I broke the base of it. So maybe I will reorder one of those. Just to warn you before we go into segments, we got a lot of noise there.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, that because these people with the outside, the dog goes crazy when they come near the door. All right. Okay, great. All right. So let's see here. Stoop sign. We got that one already. Sorry, stoop sign. Furrow Squeen going to I love the way Russell presents his pieces. Shame the DD logo is on the right. Yeah. Keaton, they should bring in circumcision to the UK. After the debate, the other stream is clearly better than Full Tackle. Debate. After the debate, the other stream is clearly better than Full Tackle. Oh, got it. Thank you, Furrow Squeen. Appreciate that. All right. Okay. We're going to move right on along here. All right, folks. So this was the talk of Twitter last night. So I want to get into this a little bit. So here's one thread on this Tyler Robinson trial judge and the gag order. Tony Graff, the judge selected to preside over the Charlie Kirk assassination trial, and the judge he replaced, Robert Lunnan, were both the subject of unique Google searches from Israeli IP addresses before the assassination, July 26th and May 15th, respectively. Neither was the subject of any searches in Utah until after the assassination. Judge Lunnan retired on August 1st, and Judge Graff assumed his duties on August 4th. On or about the same day, Mehtab Sayed, the special agent in charge of the Salt Lake City FBI field office, was removed. Yes, don't forget, the field office guy at the FBI was removed about a month before the shooting as well. Just a bunch of coincidences, sources in the next tweet. So we'll read through some of his thread here. Judge Robert Lunnan retired on August 1st, 2025. He was replaced by Judge Tony Graff, who was sworn in on August 4th, after Graff was appointed by Governor Spencer Cox on May 2nd, 2025. Also notable, Graff formerly worked as a special assistant to the U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C. Neither judge was searched for from D.C. or Utah IP addresses before the assassination, only from Israeli IP addresses. The Israelis taking a lot of interest in Utah over the summer. Very weird. Maybe they should have their own state set up in Utah. Maybe that's a compromise that we're thinking of implementing for them. Maybe, hey, look, if there's just too much violence over there and it doesn't work out, we'll set up a Zionist state in Utah. That would be fair. They got room. Mehtab Sayed's removal,
don't the Mormons call it the New Zion?
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
You already got the name.
They already got the name. Beautiful. Mehtab Sayed's removal from the SLC FBI field office was announced in the media on August 5th, 2025. And then I love this. Mehtab Sayed's removal order likely came from Stephen Miller, parentheses, Star of David. He just adds that. That's funny. Mehtab Sayed's removal order likely came from Stephen Miller.
J-O-O.
of the White House, notes and thread. There you go. Okay, now this is where we start getting into what really became the talk of Twitter. Judge Tony Graff has issued a gag order on all witnesses in the Charlie Kirk assassination trial. Now, they have not actually issued a formal gag order yet, but where this concern stems from is this report by Fox 13 News in Utah after one of the preliminary hearings in preparation for the trial. So let's take a look at this.
Robinson's latest court hearing was brief, but some interesting things did happen, including one issue that could impact thousands of people here in Utah.
Good morning. Court is now in session.
Tyler Robinson was not present for the hearing. Instead, he listened in from the Utah County Jail. Lawyers focused on upcoming issues like evidence from the crime scene.
There is a substantial amount of discovery in this case, Your Honor. It's voluminous, to say the least.
His lawyers entered their formal appearance and declined to waive his right to a preliminary hearing. Judge Tony Graff has issued a gag order preventing anyone associated with the case from talking about it. It's to avoid pretrial publicity, already a big problem in a case with massive media exposure involving a high-profile figure like Charlie Kirk. But the judge wants to ensure a fairer trial for Robinson. It's also brought up a big issue involving thousands of people.
We're seeking some clarification with respect to the phrase all witnesses, Your Honor. There are a number of witnesses that have yet to be identified that will likely be used in the state's case. This occurred in front of 2,000 to 3,000 students at Utah Valley University. So we're in the process of identifying those witnesses. And so those individuals are presently unknown right now.
The court will rule that as the witnesses become known to each side, that information is conveyed to abide by this order. Obviously, there are potentially many witnesses, and so it's not the expectation that you would be able to do that up front, but as they become known.
The judge made it clear he wants to ensure Robinson's constitutional rights will be protected, as well as the rights of the victim.
Counsel, regardless of who is watching, whether it is the nation or a single individual, we must fulfill our roles with integrity, civility, and diligence. I encourage each of you to give your very best to this case. Neither Mr. Robinson nor the people of Utah deserve anything less than the fair and impartial administration of justice.
Any comment? Outside court, lawyers declined to comment. Any comment?
Not today. Not today. Thanks, though.
Robinson will be back here in court in person for another hearing on October 30th. In Provo, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now, in the write-up on the Fox 13 News website, the print says that the gag order forbids anyone associated with the case from speaking to news media. So the concern here is that obviously you have thousands of witnesses, right, who could be stifled. But depending on the specificity of the word associated, the concern here is that people who have contacted the witnesses who may be named in the trial might also be subject to that gag order. So we know, obviously, Candace Owens has been in touch with people who were at UVU that day. And so she puts out this statement, don't worry about the gag order in the Charlie Kirk case. I plan to violate it on the world's behalf. The things I've discovered this past week are enough to burn the house down. Yes, Charlie is betrayed by everyone. So that's an ultra viral tweet there, 9.3 million views as of the time that I screenshotted it. And Cat Turd, investigative journalist extraordinaire, Cat Turd, quotes from Grok here to sort of, fact check her, so to speak. The gag order in the state versus Tyler Robinson binds over 3,000 potential witnesses from Charlie Kirk's Utah event to avoid prejudicing the assassination trial. Candace Owens, absent from the gathering and not subpoenaed, faces no direct legal constraint. Her violation pledge is rhetorical bravado for unveiling alleged betrayals. This highlights the farce. Unbound speech clashes with her dramatic framing, risking defamation counters, but not contempt. Well, it could be the case. I mean, yes, she is not under gag order now. And is it likely she will be? Well, if she's been in contact with a lot of these witnesses, perhaps it's a possibility. I'm not sure, but that could be the point of her rhetorical bravado. in other words, to get out in front, saying, hey, listen, if you're thinking about trying to muzzle me, don't, because it's not going to work, right? You know who else is not going to be muzzled? Alex Jones. Here's Alex Jones, who says that the judge can go piss up a rope before censoring Alex Jones.
If they try to make the Charlie Kirk so-called assassin trial secretive, then you know for sure the official story is not true. And I said it'll take some time. I said it doesn't look good in the first few days. There was all sorts of theories that turned out to not be true. There was lots of jumping to conclusions before there was evidence. But now, 5-6 weeks after this, what was it, September 10th? How many weeks is that?
Now that I got all the mileage I could out of the militant trans people did it. Looks like there's more to this than I thought.
And speaking of pissing, I am ready to do my own segment about the time that I peed standing up next to Brigitte Macron.
Yeah, exactly.
This is bad. This is real bad. Even mainstream media is calling this one of the most secretive trials in history. The judge is making everything secret with gag orders, including the police reports and 3,000 witnesses, associates, or anyone that knew Charlie Kirk. They're saying effectively any talk show host that knew him or talked to him is under gag order. Well, let me give you a news flash, Judge. You can piss up a rope. You've seen these judges tell me to do stuff's unconstitutional. I tell them their face are tyrants. I'm not going to shut up. So you can take your gag order and stick it up your ass. We'll be right back.
Unless your name is Elon Musk, you don't tell me what to say. Yeah. Now, of course, what he's saying here is not necessarily true as of yet. They're not saying any talk show host who knew Charlie Kirk can't say anything. The concern here is that you have a few thousand witnesses here who could potentially come under gag order. And the other concern here, when it comes to partiality versus impartiality, you've already had so many people in such high places say emphatically Tyler Robinson is guilty and say emphatically why. Like, you've already kind of had one side really poison the case. And so then to subject thousands of other people to gag orders who might have contradictory evidence to share, you're trusting that this state-appointed defense attorney is going to do a competent job defending Tyler Robinson. And, you know, a widespread opinion, I know James Lee brought this up, Ryan Mata in his breakdown of the hearing video said that they suspect, and I know, Russ, you've echoed this too, that Tyler Robinson will not make it to trial, that he'll be Epsteined in some way. And I'm gonna take the
he's gonna be rubied.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what? I'm actually gonna take the contrarian position and say that he does stand trial and that he will somehow be railroaded, because I don't trust the defense team to actually do a competent job. I think the fact that there are defense attorneys who want to represent him, but that the state is insisting that he be given this state-appointed, paper shuffler, that's a very bad sign. I also think, we're not going to get a full presentation of the evidence at the trial. Kash Patel was talking about how we're going through everything and we can't say anything right now. We have to wait until trial when all of this is going to become known. A trial that does not address this is not a real trial. I want an answer for this. You have to answer this question. Okay, here's George Zinn, initially detained in Charlie Kirk shooting. Minutes after the shooting, here is George Zinn being taken out by police. Here's how he acts.
Was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
This is the guy who, for some crazy reason, was there that day, right? And he has his own shady past, calling in threats to the Boston Marathon and his takes after 9/11. Here he is, the guy who didn't do it. Shoot me.
Was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
Someone gets shot, you get wrestled to the ground by police, put in handcuffs, and they take you away. If you're not there to act as a decoy, is that how you're behaving?
We don't know if it's him or
Yelling,
not.
shoot me, shoot me, shoot me? I'm sorry. That is a man who is acting as a decoy. And notice he's surrounded by lots of people. Which means not only are there witnesses to the shooting, there's witnesses to George Zinn and what happened to George Zinn in the moments after. Are they not going to be allowed to say anything? Are we supposed to trust that the lawyers are going to interrogate that? If we don't hear anything about George Zinn at this trial, that's how you know it's a sham trial. And that's what I suspect it will be. These gag orders notwithstanding, no matter how far they take this, the fact that you had that happen and that for almost an hour, the public was under the impression that the suspect was in custody and the guy who's supposed to be the suspect is acting like he's guilty, even though he's not. If that is not addressed at the trial, then this is a sham trial. Everybody who was around him, everybody close to him who saw that go down, if they are not given the opportunity to come forward and talk about what the fuck that was about, just to set aside all the other insanely suspicious shit about this case, that stands out as the most suspicious to me because that was the first in the timeline. It was once I found out that he was not the guy, then I'm like, oh, well, this stinks. This stinks. And he's surrounded by people there. Are they going to be allowed to talk, or do we just trust that this is going to be produced in discovery? Is that evidence going to come out? Are they even going to litigate that? My guess is no. So my guess is this does go to trial and that these questions remain unanswered as if they're unimportant. Because this is what happens all the time. All the questions about 9/11 went unasked and unanswered. Now, 20 years later, Tucker Carlson's allowed to make a documentary about it. But back then, you weren't allowed to talk about any of this shit. You weren't allowed. You were marginalized if you talked about any of this shit. So the point is, whatever you feel about these gag orders or how expansive they'll be, whether they'll extend to the commentariat sphere. And in Candace's case, it's a little more gray since she has been in direct contact with witnesses. So we don't know how that's going to play out. But it's pretty safe to say that this trial is likely to be a sham trial, if it happens at all. And I know there are some people who don't think it'll get that far.
Yeah, and as soon as he was about to start talking, they accuse him of being a PDF file, so he disappears from the public eye. Then he reemerges as one of the organizers of the No Kings March. Explain that. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
I think I saw him at the one in Harlem.
Yeah. That's how you knew it was time to go. All right, better get out of here.
Something's going to go down. When this guy shows up, it's time to go. Yeah. The fact that they got these sham attorneys and won't let him pick somebody who wants to volunteer to represent him, that they're insisting that there's a state attorney, that would indicate you might be right, that they want to go through. I could see them going through a sham trial where they don't allow this guy to speak and claim that that's his choice, because you don't have to testify at your own trial. They could do what they did here. He's listening from the jail, railroad him. I think any way you slice it, he ends up dead. Any way you slice it. Maybe they wait until they go through a trial and then claim that he's self-deleted. Because eventually, you're not going to be able to make sure that nobody ever talks to this guy. They're not going to let the loose thread dangle out there forever. Maybe strategically they feel like it's just going to be too obvious to delete him now. They want to do a sham trial and then do it. It's possible if they went to the lengths of insisting that he have these state-appointed attorneys. Then again, that could just be for show for now while they're figuring out how to delete him. But if you look at how they've handled everything else, this is a bunch of crackpots, weirdos, and incompetents who are willing to work for Donald Trump. This is not, even as cover-ups go, this has been terrible. This has been awful. When we had James Lee on the other day, he talked about how now you can't find in the Google searches that they were searching the name Tyler Robinson from D.C. 2 months before this happened. But the fact that you were able to find it at all, and then they were like, oh, my bad, I'll take care of it. They're crackpots, man. So they don't seem like the types to worry too much about what people are going to say. There are so many elements of this, like him climbing down from that roof without the rifle that they let go.
Right.
That, they don't seem like the most capable people in the world. So it would not surprise me if he never makes it to trial. Or if he does, that he's not allowed to speak and is deleted shortly after they feel like they, oh, look, we dispelled all doubt now.
Well, don't forget, they want to give him the death penalty, right? And I don't think they plan on keeping him on death row for 20 years, So, look, I mean, it's all incredibly suspicious, obviously. And, none of this is to necessarily say he's innocent. He could just be a patsy. In other words, they could have set him up. He could be one of many people who were involved, and they're going to pin it on him as if he was a lone wolf actor. Now, Candace Owens seems to be of the opinion that he is innocent. I mean, she said he wasn't on the campus that day. I mean, she basically came out and said he didn't do it. That's what she very, very strongly insinuated. Now, in fact, she was direct enough where you could really say she claimed that. And she has provided receipts for much of what she has said. So we will have to see more. I mean, she comes out with that tweet there and said that what I've seen in the last week and a half, is enough for me to go scorched earth. So we will see. I'm sure she will have more between now and the trial. But, as not to impugn the integrity of Cat Turd here, but her rhetorical bravado could be a preemptive sort of warning to the judge. Hey, don't try and silence me because it's not going to work. And then you're going to have another problem on your hands. And given her we have every reason to believe, assuming she's telling the truth, that she's been in contact with a lot of people who were there that day. Those would be witnesses. She has that tip line, right? She has reported, on YouTube several times based on things that she's been told by people who were there. So if she is considered, because of that, to be associated with the case, they could potentially tell her she has to keep her mouth shut. So her coming out and saying, I'll violate it, she's not claiming that she's been placed under a gag order. What she's saying is that, hey, if they put me under one, I'm going to break it, so they shouldn't waste their time. I think Alex Jones, that's more chest pounding. I don't think they're gonna give him a gag order.
Alex Jones, that just played to me as a pathetic appeal for relevance.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about Alex Jones's take on this. I haven't seen anyone talk about Alex Jones's take on this. And as far as Cat Turd goes, I can't say this enough. These people are as independent as Rachel Maddow or Chris Hayes. They are bought and paid for mouthpieces for the establishment. In this case, the Trump administration establishment. Whatever they want put out, you may as well be reading tweets from Trump's press office.
Right.
That's it. They are not real actors in the space with real opinions. They are bought and paid for influencers, no different from corporate media, just in a different medium.
Yeah, of course. And, in the case of Alex Jones, he's already tested a lot of different theories about this. That's the thing. He was coming out and saying it was, the trans ideology that was responsible for this. And then he goes out and tries something else. And there are a lot of people in this space who are now kind of digging into the Kirk case. I know the redacted guys are doing this now. And, they've put out some good work about this case in recent days and weeks. But the day or two after the shooting, whatever the guy's name is, the man's name, I forget his name. What the hell's his name? Anyway, the chat will know. It's not important. He came out with this 10-minute video about how we're tired of having this gender ideology shoved down our throats. If you're coming out and saying that, it does undermine your credibility when now you're all of a sudden looking into it. It's oh, okay, well, that didn't take. And so now, right, exactly. You're just seeing which way the wind is blowing and going where you think you can make a buck. It was very irresponsible for people to come out and start, really stoking a civil war. I mean, and now it's Clayton Morris. Thank you, Lee, in the chat. Appreciate that. That's his name. Yeah. I mean, now maybe it's just that there's been some distance on the calendar from it, but now the more people are looking into this and, suspecting that all is not what it seems, you've seen the tension somewhat subside, although we're still in a very dangerous moment. But in the days and weeks after that, we were right on the edge, man. Like you were very close to civil war and total societal breakdown. It was very irresponsible at that point to be going off half-cocked about how we're tired of being pushed around by the transes when you don't know that that's what was behind this, right? You don't want to stoke that kind of division if you don't really know what you're talking about. And the fact you had some people come out and say that, and now that they realize that the conspiracy theorists are perhaps correct, and so now they're jumping on the bandwagon of, well, we have to look into this, which is what Alex is doing, and it's what the redacted people are doing. It's like, you know, you really kind of had to wait and see what the truth was before going off half-cocked on this, as so many people have.
Yeah, it's not about them seeing that there might be something to it. It's about them seeing that the bulk of the audience believes
it
there's
has
something
legs
to it.
as content,
Anybody who jumped up and started screaming about transes, you should always, forever after that, take with a grain of salt, because they're not honest. They're not honest. And anybody who jumped on that narrative, they're working for somebody. I'm sorry, they're working for somebody, man. It was so obvious that this was a setup from day one. If you just jumped on that cultural bandwagon, look, Alex Jones is like a sad case. I think he's like desperate. You know, Elon threw him a lifeline, and he has to keep his masters happy. But it's not like that was an obvious place to go with that story. And the administration was signaling they wanted people to go that way with that story. So if you went that way with that story, in one way or another, you're working for the administration, or you're so audience captured, you thought that that's what your audience was going to want from you.
Right.
So you got right on that. You know, Matt Walsh won't give that up. And we know that who pays for the Daily Wire.
Right.
We know who the Daily Wire works for. A lot of people said, well, is Matt Walsh the next to go? No. And now we know why. He's their Shabbos goy over there.
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I see some people in the chat that says, you know, Redacted had the USS Liberty survivor on. No, they've done good stuff, but it's just, to me, it's just it's very irresponsible to come out at such a moment of precarity for the entire society and just pour gasoline on the fire. And look, I understand people's emotions are hot after a thing like that. I understand people who were close to Charlie Kirk were extremely angry and they had reason to be hurt. But I don't think Clayton Morris is one of them. Like, I don't think he's not in the guy's family. Like, he has some, if you have some distance from the thing, then I hold that, then you should be more responsible than people who don't have distance from the thing. Right. And so, yeah, people who started out saying one thing and are now jumping on this bandwagon because it has legs in terms of content marketability. Right. Yeah, that's kind of bullshit. It is. All right. Let's move right on along here. William Ellick says Biden opens border illegals cause fear and chaos. Trump law and order mass deportation builds massive ICE force. AI mass surveillance makes laws that step on rights, freedom, and privacy. Police state goal. Yes, I agree. Let's see here. Oh, what happened? What happened to my thing here? I gotta find the Rumble rants here. That's what happened when my Chrome crashed. The screen went away. Okay, all right. Now I got it. Oh, come on. There it is. Sorry, folks. Just putting my setup back together after that technical mishap there. Okay. EO Shush says, I'm going to start getting my pro-Palestine content from Hassan Piker. He knows how to shut a dog up. Good one. Yes. Yeah. It's funny. Ironically, like right after that incident happened, I started having problems shutting my dog up. It's just the Tuesday shows because they come every Tuesday. I often hear respected sources, says Freddie, saying they're saying the quiet part out loud as though it's a gotcha. I do it myself. It keeps me sane. Does it do any good to point it out if no one cares? Good point. Good point, Freddie. Appreciate that. Nocturnal Human says, I think it's important that we point out that Kash Patel was tweeting out evidence on the first day, hours after it happened. That hypocrisy matters. Yeah, that's a very good point as well. he's talking about, well, we can't come out and, post any evidence now. Yeah, he did that. He did that very early on. He did that again with the ICE shooting where he posted the photo of the bullets that said anti-ICE on
We
it.
forensically found the manifesto that doesn't exist.
They showed us the transcript of the text messages.
Yep.
So what do you mean
Right.
you're sitting on evidence, right? And that's what's kind of controversial about these sweeping gag orders is like, look, one side has already kind of, I won't say poison the well, but they have definitely imposed a certain perspective on this case, right? Like, how do you even have a fair trial under those circumstances? Like, is there anybody who goes into this as an impartial juror? How do you do jury selection for a trial like this? Like, it's almost impossible. I guess you got Mormons out there. Some of them probably don't follow the news very closely. They should have the Amish be on the trial. They won't know anything about it.
So do Amish have to do jury duty?
That's a good question. They should volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move right on along. All right, this is my favorite story of the day, the Argentinian beef.
All right.
This is the marquee story.
Meat's back on the menu, boys.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a little timeline here of the agonies of the American rancher under this administration. So here's Lutnick. This is after the so-called Liberation Day back in April, talking about how unfair it is that they don't want our big, beautiful beef.
Like, I'd ask you, why don't they take our beef? Why don't they take our agricultural products? Why? Because they don't want them, because they want to make the money themselves. Why is it okay for every other country to feel this way, and it's not okay for America? I tell you why. Because we were the world's piggy bank, and Donald Trump has said our $36 trillion deficit, our $1.2 trillion trade deficit, $1.2 trillion we buy other people's things more than we sell them ours, has got to be rebalanced. It's a national emergency. Let's fix America, and we can.
All right, so that's actually the wrong one. We'll cut in the right one later. Okay, so we have big, beautiful beef, according to Howard. You know what? Read a couple of chats. Let me get that.
Yeah,
Let me
we
start
need to get
again.
the big, beautiful beef.
We definitely need the big, beautiful beef one.
That should be, we should call this episode that, the big, beautiful beef. Yeah. Here, you know what? While you're searching for that, I wanted to do this anyway. We got a little disoriented today, folks, because my browser crashed. So apologize.
Everything's out of whack.
Please bear with us at this time. Yes, if you like what we do here, you could help us do more of it by becoming a supporter. Go to dudescendants.com/Patreon/Substack or /locals. Membership starts.
I see how that happened.
Oh, okay. Membership starts at $5 a month. We could not do this show without our members. We appreciate you all very much. As a perk of joining, that you not only get your name up on the show scroll here, you also get your name in the end credits of our upcoming documentary on the Uhuru movement. You also get film club live streams once a month, bonus post-game live streams with call-in Q&A once a month. You get call-in access every Sunday to our post-show Q&As. I think we had a record number of callers this last Sunday. We had a lot.
Was that a record?
Heard from a lot of you. We had probably about 15 callers, 15, 16 callers. We had a lot of callers last Sunday, Sunday show. So that was great. And you also will get, if you join this week, live stream access to Russ's weird tour of New York, which we will plug more formally after this segment. But you will get live stream access to that tour from the comfort of your home if you are a paid member. So that'll be cool. You get a virtual walking tour of downtown New York City in the Village. So that is a cool perk as well. And like I said, we could not do this show without the members. So thank you all very much for your support. Appreciate you all. If you sign up, like I said, between now and Saturday, you will get access to that live stream virtual walking tour. So make sure you sign up at dudissidents.com/Patreon/Substack or /locals here. Bonzo Bean says, please offer a satirical DD digital learning product for online content marketability, teaching you how to be hot as fuck no matter which ways winds are blowing. No one could do it better. That's right. Exactly. Let's see here. China Shill says Candace claims she was told information about the incident in a dream. If this next drop isn't definitive, she's full of shit. She's not credible for anything. Stop teasing the drops. Well, no, she did not. First of all, I don't think she said she was told information in a dream. I think she said he came to her in a dream and said he was betrayed or something, which I agree. Look, I mean, I agree. That's not a smart thing to do. Like, you don't want to dilute the credible claims that you make with stories about how he came to you in a dream. Like, I would not have gone there if I were
Listen,
her.
you know what the problem is with you commies? You're not cultured. Go watch some fucking Hamlet.
Yeah,
and
right.
Then come
exactly,
back to me about ghosts in dreams, okay?
Ghosts in dreams. That's right.
Fucking commies.
That's right.
Fucking uncultured commies.
That's right. Everything is right. Exactly. Everything is too material in your eyes. But yeah, look, I agree that she shouldn't have probably told the story about the dream because that kind of gets into sort of woo-woo territory. But no, I mean, look, she did produce the text messages that she said she had. And I always thought that it never made sense to me that she was lying because it would be too damaging to her reputation if she's just making shit up. So I don't think she's lying. I would agree with you that the story about the dream was ill-advised because you're diluting
don't do that. Yeah.
You're diluting the substantive stuff with storytelling, and that just gives people ammunition to be like, "See, you're crazy or you're full of shit." So yeah, no, I agree. That was not
like
smart
when you criticize the Israeli state for 2 years, you probably shouldn't talk about getting Jewed down on the air.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, so you got the video.
All right, so I'm just gonna set this up again. Yeah,
just do
I
it
have
again.
2 different videos labeled Lutnick beef. That's how that happened.
Oh yeah.
He mentions the beef in that, but it's not like the video if I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just set it up again. All right, so we're going to recreate a little timeline here of the trials and travails of the American rancher under this administration. So it started out very, very hopeful after Liberation Day with Howard Lutnick talking about the beauty of American beef.
European Union won't take chicken from America. They won't take lobsters from America. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
All right, so weak beef is the problem.
They're jealous of our beef.
They're jealous of our beef. Now, of course, as I'm sure a lot of our viewers know, especially if you've been around the country, they don't want to touch our beef because we put all kinds of hormones and shit in the feed that is literally illegal in a lot of the rest of the world. You're not even allowed to produce meat that way. Using a chlorine wash on chicken, like they don't want our shit in the rest of the world. The idea that we have a superior product is absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
But hey, man, a lot of the ranchers were very hopeful that this was going to be a big turnaround for their industry. So here's one 5th-generation rancher who was interviewed on Newsmax back in April, right after Liberation Day.
I see coming is more markets for us. Honestly, we've seen years and years and years of terrible exports from the United States. We import a lot of beef from other countries, which is honestly.
Yeah, it's because nobody wants this shit. Nobody wants beef in the rest of the world that is pumped full of hormones. Nobody wants that. You're not even allowed to do that in a lot of the rest of the world.
Not as good of a product as what we have ourselves. So if we can have free trade, our markets will go up and stay consistent over the years. They're gonna jump up and down like the stock market's doing right now, and we know that. We deal with that every day out here. Commodities move up and they move down at the whims of traders and everything else. But if we have a level playing field, I'll put our beef up against anybody in the world. And many people that hear this today have gone to steakhouses in the United States, and they eat American beef and they love it.
Okay, so Gunther Eagleman, of course, or whatever AI handles that account. Time to buy American products. Time to buy American products. Global beef trade about to get spicy. Grab your steak knives. Winning. Oh, not winning. Okay, so this was a video from a young lady in China. This is August, and this is what the result of these policies were in China a few months later.
China. So I'm in a grocery store right now, and I wanted to show you how the American tariffs are affecting Chinese customers. So I was gonna get some beef for dinner tonight, and I saw this. So what used to be here is American beef, but now, as you can see, it says Australian beef. And I did look around. I couldn't find one single pack of beef from America. So I guess China just stopped buying beef from America, and it went straight to Australia. So the whole idea that China is hurting because of the American tariffs, well, they're not, because they're not as dependent on the US. In fact, only 18% of Chinese imports come from America. And for stuff like beef and soy, they can just go somewhere else easily. So I guess I'm having Australian beef for dinner tonight instead of American beef. And honestly, because of the food quality, I probably trust Australian beef better. And this box of beef right here is 50 RMB, which is about $7 US. So to answer the question, China ain't hurting. And if anything, I think we're probably doing even better, because now that we have better beef that tastes better and at a better price. So thank you, Trump, for that.
That whole package is $7.
$7. Well, things are cheaper over there.
I mean, that would be like, even if it's a shitty cut of meat nowadays, would prices be what they are? That'd be like $35.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, way to kick yourself in the nuts. And she mentioned soy. America was the biggest exporter of soybeans to China. China bought $12.6 billion in U.S. soybeans last year. Now it's $0. Zero. So here's a soybean farmer talking about that in September.
Now we're in a very dire situation. September's upon us. Harvest is starting in the deep south, and we have 0 bushels of soybeans on the books to be sold to China for this current crop that's about to come out of the field. Historically, over the last 5 years, about a third of soybean sales to China would be booked. China amounts to 25% of our total U.S. soybean crop. So that would be 8 or 9% of the whole U.S. crop would normally be on the books with China right now, and we have 0. That is alarming. The farm.
Okay, so now you probably heard that we are bailing out Argentina. First, it was with $20 billion. So, and then it got doubled to $40 billion. So our friend down there, Argentina, certainly didn't take that money to subsidize their soybean industry and steal our trade with China in soybeans, except they did. There's the American Soybean Association. This week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced the U.S. government was in negotiations to extend a $20 billion swap line to the Argentine government and potentially purchase the country's foreign bonds. Almost immediately after, a reported 20 shiploads of Argentine soybeans were purchased by China after the Argentine government announced it would waive taxes on its soybean exports. Get it? So they took that money from the United States. That allowed them to drop the taxes on their soybeans because now they didn't need the revenue because the American taxpayer is giving them a handout. And they used that to steal the soybean market from us, which, you know, I'm not blaming them. We gave it up. We gave them the money to be able to do that. The idea that the Trump administration is America first is absurd. Look at this, man. They're cutting the throat of the American farmer. And you might be asking yourself, why would they do this for Argentina? But we will get into that.
He's a businessman. He's going to look out for us. That's what we need. We need a businessman.
We need a businessman.
Businessmen don't look out for you. Businessmen fuck you.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Exactly. Especially these are modern day businessmen. These are not businessmen from 1940. These are businessmen in a post-Gordon Gekko, Wolf of Wall Street world where it's all about gambling, speculation, and moving numbers around on paper, and may the person with the biggest numbers in their bank account win. These are not old school industrialists as like Carnegie, like Ford, as monstrous as they were in a lot of respects. They were trying to build industries.
Yeah, they made shit and sold products.
They made things that's not what this is. We don't live in that world anymore. A businessman is somebody who steals as much as possible from you while giving as little as possible in return. So here's Trump asked about buying beef from Argentina now.
What do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying.
What do you mean by beef?
She never said they were doing great. She never said that. Like,
yeah, well, you know who else is dying? American farmers.
Yeah.
77 American cattle producers a day are going out of business. You know what that sounds like? Dying. Sounds like they're dying.
That truly is. If I could just, for a quick second, that truly is, of all the clips of Trump in this second term, that is top 5 most shocking. Because you notice she says, what do you say to the American farmers who think that Argentina is being treated better than them? And in his answer, he did not acknowledge the American farmer at all. At all.
Dying.
In that entire answer, Argentina's dying. Do you understand that? They're fighting for their life. They're dying, and I happen to like the president, and they're in a lot of trouble, and we're going to help them out. He completely ignored her concern about the concerned American farmer. Like, this is the America First guy. He paid no lip service to the American farmer there. You would think the guy who runs on America First would at least have something to throw out. No, nothing. Nothing. That entire answer was all about Argentina's in trouble and we love Argentina, so we have to help.
Yeah. Did they? Well, when they asked him about Charlie Kirk, he started talking about the ballroom.
And the ballroom, right?
Exactly. This is who he is. America lost 140,000 farms in the past 5 years. That's 2,500 farms per month or 83 farms per day. The average age of the American farmer is 58. You know what that sounds like? That sounds like people who are dying. Sounds like they're dying. Sounds like the American farmers are dying, but you're asking them to put Argentina first. Argentina, why would they do that? So this is Merriweather Farms. This is a ranch based in Wyoming. Dear President Trump, we love you and support you. That's because you're stupid. But your suggestion to buy beef from Argentina to stabilize beef prices would be an absolute betrayal to the American cattle rancher. You don't get it yet, do you? You don't get it. I hope you watch this segment because by the end, I'm going to explain it to you. We understand there are larger economic and geopolitical dynamics at play, including countering CCP influence in countries in our hemisphere. How so? How so? How so? In what way? Oh yeah, man. The Chinese soldiers are storming the beaches of Buenos Aires. What the fuck are you talking about?
I mean, I certainly call bullshit on. We understand there are larger economic, like you take their word for it when they tell you that. But I guarantee you don't actually understand the threat that the CCP poses to your fucking farm.
Of course not. But the practice of solving problems over there before solving problems here on our soil is what contributed to the downfall of our country. Americans always come last. You know, you're getting warm.
Getting warm.
You're getting warm.
Exactly,
you're getting there.
Oh, my
we
goodness.
understand beef prices are high, and we admire your concern for all Americans.
Which American? Which one?
You just don't get it. You just don't get it. He's not that into you. He's not that into you. This is getting embarrassing. Move on, date somebody else. But this is not the fault of the American producer. This is the fault of politicians who have allowed BRICS-aligned entities to dominate the meat industry that participate in price fixing and who also continually lie to their customers. So you go on a little bit with a little inside baseball meat industry stuff. This is jumping ahead a little bit. The American cattle rancher is one of the last symbols of independence we have in the nation. Well, you got that right. It's symbolic because the entire industry is consolidated. But the continued manipulation and betrayal by the very people who claim to support them needs to end immediately. While only representing 1% of the population, the work is tireless, daily, in poor conditions, with low margins, without thanks, all in order to keep this country fed. We would be a failed nation if we continue to betray the very people who put food on the table for us.
I'm getting real warm now.
There are so many voices on the outside that support you and want to see you succeed. They put them there tampons in the boys' bathroom at the high school.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to start listening to them. Your team knows how to get in touch with us.
Oh, yeah. You could expect a call real soon.
Oh, yeah. He's going to call you. All right. Okay. So there are independent ranchers, but it's the vast minority. This is Josh Hawley. A total of 4 companies control a whopping 80% of the entire beef processing industry. That's processing. That's not the ranching. That's the processing. That's a modern day monopoly. The winners here, the monopolists like Tyson Foods. The losers, farmers and grocery shoppers. Yeah. And Robert Reich and Josh Hawley on this point agree. Why is your Labor Day cookout so expensive this year? Maybe because just 4 firms control 85% of the beef market, 66% of the pork market, and 54% of the poultry market. Okay, so yes, there are independent ranchers, but most of the industry has been consolidated. Why is that relevant? That's part of why they don't give a fuck about you. That's part of why they don't care about independent 5th-generation ranchers who thought they were going to do something for you. Who do you think puts money in their pockets? Who do you think puts money in their pockets? Tyson, groups like this, and they're going to be just fine. Thomas Massey, this is not America first. We don't need the U.S. flooded with beef from Argentina after our cattle ranchers have taken a beating over the last several years. Bring back country of origin labels. Buy direct. I mean, Massey, look, man, I like the guy, but I don't know why he thinks that people would rather buy meat that is American, that a label from outside America would not actually be to the benefit of the export. Buy direct from an American farmer. Pass the Prime Act. America First and MAHA. Okay, so what's the Prime Act? I introduced the Prime Act today. The bill would give individual states freedom to permit intrastate distribution of custom slaughtered meat, such as beef, pork, or lamb, to consumers, restaurants, hotels, boarding houses, and grocery stores. Okay, so to just briefly explain this. Okay, so the way that it is now, you can only slaughter meat outside of USDA-approved facilities for personal use or for the use of employees. Like if you have your own farm, you could kill your own chickens and feed it to your own family, but you cannot offer that for commercial use. Now, part of the result of that is some farmers, only 29 states, have these USDA-approved slaughterhouse facilities. A lot of these farmers have to drive 200 miles, which, this seems like something that a lot of people who are more left-oriented could actually agree on, because part of that is keeping things local, right? You don't want them to have to go all that distance to do the slaughtering. So tentatively, obviously, I would assume the reason this law was originally put in place, like everything else, it got corrupted by corporate consolidation, was for health code reasons, to make sure that any kind of slaughtering was done in a clean facility. But if you can address that, it seems like a good idea to me. But and I say I am not an expert on this industry, it seems like the scale of the problem is way too big to solve it that way, to the point that this almost seems separate. Like, yeah, make things easier for the farmers and they can sell more locally, but I don't see how this would really solve this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, quote, tweeting Merriweather Farms. I'm hearing the same sentiment in my district. Quote, we love President Trump. Please tell him to stop helping foreign countries and put Americans first. At this point, help Americans only. All right, they're still not getting it. They're still not getting it.
We love President Trump. We just wish he were a little more America first. That's our criticism.
Or America at all.
Yeah,
okay,
America at all.
So this is from the New York Times. This is what this is actually about. Big investors await windfall from Trump's Argentina bailout. Okay. That's it. That's it. And this is not the first time. Major hedge funds, including those led by friends of Mr. Bessent, stand to benefit financially from an Argentina economic lifeline. Funds at investment firms, including BlackRock, Fidelity, and PIMCO, are heavily invested in Argentina, as are investors such as Stanley Druckenmiller and Robert Citron, both of whom worked with Mr. Bessent when he was an investor for George Soros. Apparently, Robert Citron made Bessent personally and Soros a lot of money. And I don't know about Druckenmiller, but Citron bought a bunch of Argentine bonds right before they announced the bailout. Big club and you ain't in it, buddy. The Treasury's intervention on Thursday offered a lifeline to Argentina's financial markets, which have floundered as the country has faced a severe cash crunch. Dollar-denominated bonds set to expire in 2035 rebounded to levels last seen when Mr. Bessent first announced the United States would be stepping in. The peso also rebounded, although currency experts worry that it will soon come under pressure again without a longer-term fix for the country's financial woes. Now, does this make any sense to you? Does this make any kind of economic sense? Why they would be putting all this money into this country without any real plan? Like they're not giving this money to them to build a new port or to build factories or to build industries. They're just putting money in to prop up the peso. Now, this is very similar to what Citibank and the IMF were doing ahead of the Asian financial crisis. They were propping up the currency, even though a lot of the leaders of those countries, like Thailand, like Malaysia, didn't want to prop up the currency because they saw it was going to get them into unsustainable debt. So why did they do that? Because when they propped up the currency, their investors pulled their money out. And as soon as the investors had the money out, they let their currencies collapse. So with all respect to the gray lady, the New York Times, they fucked up that headline. This is not a bailout. It's a bust out. It's a bust out. That is a mob term, as any aficionados of The Sopranos will know. Now, this site, which I guess the theme of the site is Tony Soprano AI voice. The AI voice is terrible, but the explanation for what a bust out is very good. Now, if you think about what we're doing with Argentina as a bailout, it doesn't make any sense. If you think of it as a bust out, it all falls into place. This is what a bust out is.
Sum up. So a bust out is a classic move in our line of work, a way to drain every last drop of profit from a legitimate business, leaving it high and dry. Picture this. You got a business, let's say a restaurant or a construction company that's seen better days financially. The owner, desperate for cash, comes to me or someone like me for help. Now, here's where things get interesting. We loan the owner some money. And in return, we gain control of the business. But we're not interested in turning it around. Oh, no. We're here to bleed it dry. We start by overstocking inventory, ordering way more supplies than necessary, inflating the bills. We also get creative with the accounting, cooking the books, so it looks like the business is making more money than it actually is. That's how we fool the lenders. the banks, and even the employees. Then the fun part begins. We start selling off the inventory, often at discounted prices, to our buddies or other businesses we control. We make sure the cash goes straight into our pockets. And all the while, we keep racking up debts, taking out loans and lines of credit under the business's name, knowing damn well we won't be paying them back. Eventually, the business is left drowning in debt, unable to sustain itself. Suppliers stop delivering, employees lose their jobs, and the whole thing collapses. And who's left standing with all the cash? Now there's...
All right. So does what we are doing in Argentina sound like a bailout, or does it sound like a bust out? It's a bust out. Who's going to benefit from all this beef that they're moving up? The 4 major suppliers who are going to get this cheap beef to process. This is a bust out. They're using Argentina as the business that they're running up debts on, and they're pocketing the money from those debts and robbing the country. Now, for educational purposes, there's a great scene about a bust out of a restaurant in Goodfellas. I made a little mashup to bring the point home.
Also, Paulie could do anything, especially run up bills on the joint's credit. And why not? Nobody's gonna pay for it anyway. And as soon as the deliveries are made in the front door, you move the stuff out the back and sell it at a discount. You take a $200 case of booze and you sell it for $100. Doesn't matter, it's all profit. And then finally, when there's nothing left,
fucking shame.
When you can't borrow another buck from the bank or buy another case of booze, you bust the joint out. You light a match.
All right. So that's what's actually going on here. So going forward, if you're perplexed, why are they doing this with Argentina? Remember, it's not a bailout, it's a bust out. They're robbing the country, and they have access to the greatest money printing machine in the history of the world, the U.S. Treasury. They're just going to keep printing money until they can't prop up this country anymore. Once their investors have all gotten paid, once they've looted it for every dollar, every dime they can get out of it, they're going to do what they did with the Asian financial crisis. They're going to pull all their money out, and they're going to let the Argentinian economy completely collapse. And what they're going to tell you is, the structural problems left over from Marxists. We're never in control of the country, by the way. It was just too much. It was just too much. It couldn't be fixed. We tried.
Yeah, and Malay got taken for a ride because, look, I mean, on the surface at least, you think, well, the benefit of pimping my country out to the empire is that I'm going to attract all of this investment. And the more investment I attract, the less likely they are to let us fail, because when we fail, their oligarchs fail, right? Unless you could do it this way, right? Unless you have this trick up your sleeve. And yeah, of course, that seems like what's going on here. What's going on here? Who stands to benefit from this, right? The same people who always benefit from everything. Neither the working class of America or the working class of Argentina. This is why, like, international workers' solidarity is so important, because you see right here, these people, I mean, for all their America First bullshit, they don't give a damn. They don't give a goddamn, right? They'll sell you out. You, the American cattle rancher, are every bit as disposable to them as the Argentinian worker. You are not a hair above the Argentinian worker in the eyes of these people. Not at all. Not at all. They will fuck you just as fast and just as hard as they fuck them. They don't care. They don't care. That's why when they push all this culture war shit on you and all this nationalism shit and all this anti-immigrant shit on you, they're just making a sucker out of you.
Yes.
You are worth no more to them than the South American worker. None. Not a lick. The only thing that makes you ever so slightly more valuable is that you can vote for them. Right. You can vote for them, right? Right.
These are transnational oligarchs. In the end, their people are other rich people, no matter what country they're from, just like all aristocrats, right? What do aristocrats do? They marry other aristocrats, right? They socialize with other aristocrats. Those are their people. You are not. They'll take your worship and adoration when they go up.
They use you to get power.
Sure. When they go up with a chainsaw, I mean, they love you cheering for them the way that an aristocrat loves if the peasants buy into the myth of their own elevated status, right? They love seeing the peasants cheer for them, but you're a fucking peasant to them. And the second that you speak out or challenge their power or thwart them in any way, they'll kill you. They'll kill you. They could care less if every American rancher tomorrow gets in the same building and gets blown up by a gas leak. They're not going to lose a lick of sleep over it. They do not care at all what happens to you, as Keaton says. Culture, all of this, they use their proxies like Benny in the Closet and Cat Turd and all these people to feed you all this nonsense. Meanwhile, they are literally criminals and gangsters. They're criminals and gangsters. I just showed you a bust out. That is a classic mafia move. And that's how this is not the first time that they've done this. They've done this repeatedly. They've destroyed countries repeatedly by loading them up with debts, having their investors pull their money out at the peak and letting the economy collapse. Argentina is just the latest in a long line of countries that they've done this to in coordination with the IMF.
Yeah. And what's just so stunning about this is, you have someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeting, I'm hearing this from my own constituents. They love you, but they want you to put Americans first. Like this, what are you?
Because they just can't. What was it? Carl Sagan, who said it's easier to con people than to convince them they've been conned.
Right. Exactly. Yes, that is exactly the dynamic there. I mean, the fact that in that answer on the plane, he doesn't even mention, not a nod to the American farmer. Yep. Not a, we know it's tough, but they're
dying.
No, they're dying. They're fighting for their life. They're dying. I like their president very much. We're going to help them out if we can. Not a word of concern for the American farmer. It all comes out. It all comes out in moments like that, because this is where you see where their true loyalties lie. It's to people with money.
It's to international capital.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's see here. Mama says, first time live. You two are so appreciated and truly talented. Thank you for your tireless work in delivering news in such a captivating way. Pardon me. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you.
Yahya Asiri became a YouTube member, and Matrix became a YouTube member. Thank you both. That's very kind of you. Appreciate your support very much. All right, let's do Russ. Why don't we pitch your tour? I'll bring the link up on the screen here. We got a few tickets left. Not many.
All right, so last I saw, we got 7 tickets left. This is Saturday night, 7 to 9. I guess I'll break some news here. My visa to China, I am in the final phases. I just have to go to the consulate. So I ain't going to be here for a while starting next year. So this is going to be the last time to catch me at a tour, probably until next year, if then. So 7 to 9, Saturday, I will be doing what's that?
If ever. Yeah.
If ever. It's true. If I do other tours, it'll probably be custom tours that I wanted to do that I never did because they were too niche to do that much work for. But now with this audience, it's worth doing. Like, I wanted to do a 3-part ring cycle of New York gentrification where I would have done downtown, midtown, and uptown.
Right.
But how are you going to market that? But to our audience, you could market that.
Right.
So if I do, it'll probably be an original new created tour. So it'll probably be the last time to catch me doing this. So this was my favorite tour that I ever created. I developed it basically in response to the fact that I love Halloween time, but I hated doing ghost tours because I'm too honest to lie to people. But I thought Tales of the Macabre, that's kind of where I live. I love that kind of thing. So there's a tour that covers an MK Ultra safe house. I take you to the location. CIA actually used this to experiment on people in the 50s and 60s. We go to the site of a very famous Weather Underground kind of accidental bombing of a townhouse, murder sites. One of the last venues played by G.G. Allen. If you know, you know. So come on out. If you haven't got your tickets already, if you're in New York, Saturday, 7 to 9. Last chance probably to see me do this tour, maybe ever.
There you go. DoDissidents.com/tour. And if you're not in the New York area and you can't go in person, we will be streaming it for members exclusively. So go to patreon.com/DoDissidents and you'll be able to watch live from anywhere around the world. So go ahead and grab those tickets. Thank you all very much. Okay. What do we got over here? Do I have some here? Adversity Singh says Argentina has universal health care. Vienticus Prime.
Everybody does.
Everybody does. It's a big club and you ain't in it. And how could you be when that club has been shoved right up your ass? Exactly. Thank you, Vienticus Prime. Appreciate that. Okay. We will just got to put some more Rumble rants in here. We have one more segment on the day, folks. Smash that like button, everybody. Please smash that subscribe button on YouTube and that follow button over on Rumble. Thanks all very much for being here. We are up over 2,500 in the YouTube chat. In the year 2525. So that's all good. Today is Tuesday, which means yesterday was Monday, and every Monday a new episode drops of the online YouTube show called The Grifter's Bible, which is a mind-bending novel by El Shabooms, and it's now a free weekly series on YouTube with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. This comes with good reviews from the dissidents who have checked it out. Gator Pete was telling us how much he enjoys this on the call-in on Sunday. So you follow the First Electric Church of Jesus Christ as they combine the bleeding edge of black patented neuroscience with the state-of-the-art in Michigas to beat the Great Recession. They sell visions of God to the huddled masses of Deep Ellum, Texas, and the money pours in until the local competition, the police, and the U.S. Navy decide to put a stop to it. There's ass whoopings, car chases, and a showdown at high noon on Good Friday in Dodge City. It's sci-fi noir. It's a picaresque thriller. It's a Western from 10 minutes in the future. It's The Grifter's Bible. It's a film series by El Shabooms with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. New episodes premiere every Monday on the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/at El Shaboom. So go over there, smash the subscribe button, and check it out. Yesterday was Monday, so a new episode dropped yesterday. All righty, perfect. All right, folks. Well, we got one more segment on the day. We'll take a couple of the super chats first. I have errands to run for now, guys. I just wanted to say that Do Dissidents is a wonderful and informative program for me to poop on. All right, thank you, partner. Michael Castillo says, tell me a favorite brunch spot in New York City. I'm not a big brunch guy. Not a big brunch guy. Never was.
I was until I moved up to Harlem. But I have recovered a brunch spot. Okay, so that is Jimbo's Hamburgers, believe it or not. But listen, because I don't have brunch a lot. So when I do, I really want fucking comfort food. Pancakes, bacon, eggs. Like if you're looking to have your kind of like eggs Benedict and shit, yeah, it's not going to happen there. But if you're looking to have that kind of thing, I mean, what I used to love was 7A. That's gone now down in the village.
Yeah. I liked Egg, which was in Williamsburg. That was good. And then there's this place in Flatiron that's supposed to be like, it's got some weird, like, I don't know if this is more of like a thing. I've never been, but like it's decorated like a, Victorian England inside, like a British tea house decor. That's supposed to be really good, but I forget what it is. If you just look up British decor brunch Flatiron, you'll see it there. It's on one of the sides.
Veselka does a good brunch.
Oh yeah. I think I've had Veselka brunch before. And then we would just go to like some local places. They were like fine. But that'd be our answer. I have not had brunch in a long time.
I mean, a lot of the places I used to like are gone now. I used to love there was a Cajun place called Delta Grill in Hell's Kitchen. I used to love for brunch.
Yeah, I never went to that one. All righty. We will carry on with the show. We got one more segment on the day for you. Okay, so in anything resembling a sort of functional democratic system, this would be like front page news everywhere. But given, how partisan everything is, how divided we are, I feel like scandals are really no longer scandals because people just assume that everyone is so corrupt that stories like this just don't gain much traction anymore. But they should, because this is quite something. Rubio promised to betray U.S. informants to get Trump's El Salvador prison deal. That's right. In the days before the Trump administration deported hundreds of Venezuelan immigrants to a notorious prison in El Salvador, the president of that country demanded something for himself: the return of 9 MS-13 gang leaders in U.S. custody. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in a March 13th phone call with Salvadoran President Nayib Bukele, promised the request would be fulfilled, according to officials familiar with the conversation. But there was one obstacle. Some of the MS-13 members Bukele wanted were informants under the protection of the U.S. government, Rubio told him. To deport them to El Salvador, Attorney General Pam Bondi would need to terminate the Justice Department's arrangements with those men, Rubio said. He assured Bukele that Bondi would complete that process and Washington would hand over the MS-13 leaders. Rubio's extraordinary pledge illustrates the extent to which the Trump administration was willing to meet Bukele's demands as it negotiated what would become one of the signature agreements of President Donald Trump's early months in office. While the outlines of the quid pro quo have been public for months, the Trump administration's willingness to renege on secret arrangements made with informants who had aided U.S. investigations has not yet been previously reported. So here is a little video summation of the piece. The piece is quite long. This was an exclusive that the Washington Post had. So we'll get a little more into the article, but this just kind of gives you a broad overview.
Reporting exposes new information about the negotiations between the United States and El Salvador to send undocumented migrants from the United States to one of the most notorious prisons known as CEASEFIRE. So this is a complex deal. The United States wanted to send hundreds of Venezuelan migrants to El Salvador as part of its mass deportation campaign. El Salvador wanted 9 MS-13 members in U.S. custody. Those 9 members were important because they had information about allegedly corrupt deals between the gang and El Salvador that were used to achieve the country's historic drop in violence. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was central to negotiating this deal between El Salvador and the United States. He personally held discussions with El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele. During those calls, Rubio acknowledged that some of the MS-13 members were informants to the United States and were under the protection of the U.S., which had not been previously reported. Rubio said the Trump administration would remove the informant's protective status, as Bukele requested, and send them back to El Salvador. What's so troubling to current and former Justice Department officials is that the United States relies on informants to build cases against high-level criminals. But if the U.S. starts reneging on its promises, informants will refuse to cooperate with the U.S. in the future. This also exposes the informants to potential harm, as they may be handed over to the very government they were cooperating against. This deal reveals an interesting evolution in the ascendancy of Marco Rubio, a one-time critic of President Trump, who is now using his Spanish proficiency and connections around Latin America to implement Trump's most hard-edged policies. The State Department rejects criticisms of Rubio's deal-making, saying his efforts made Americans safer. They got undocumented Venezuelans who it accuses of being members of the gang Tren de Aragua out of the United States.
Wow. I mean, there is just so much to that. That's why I didn't stop it, because I could have stopped that every 10 to 15 seconds. First of all, I love how they talk about Rubio's, connections to that part of the world, meaning a hatred for anyone who is not a right-wing Batista-like strong man, right? Because that's really where a lot of this comes from. That's where his hard on for Cuba and for Venezuela comes from.
And you got to remember, if I could just say, man, whatever opinions you have about Castro, I don't think any fair, objective person can say that for the average Cuban, life under Batista was not worse. So when you look at these Cuban exiles, I have yet to see one that is not the fucking scum of the earth. Because these are
they're all Batista people
who believe that the Batista regime was good.
Of course. Yes.
You never hear them say, I think the Cuban Revolution went too far, but I can understand why it happened. Never.
Right.
Never. No. Just foaming at the mouth about communism, never acknowledging what brought it on.
Yeah, and that is the cloth from which Rubio is cut, even though his parents fled Batista, not Castro, interestingly, right? But aside from that, okay, so you have the corruption on Bukele's end, which we know that he was colluding with MS-13 gang members, telling them, keep your murder numbers down so that it looks like what I'm doing is working so I can gain political support for this mass incarceration program, which tramples on what I would consider innate due process rights of every person. But then mostly, the most damning part of this is that last part from a sort of MAGA perspective. This is what I mean. Like, they just are so willing to just undermine their own cause and their own message in the name of just of pursuing what can only be described at this moment as just a xenophobic nationalist project, accompanied by, of course, the real selling point, a surveillance state. They want a police state. They were so desperate to get access to this prison. Why? For a few hundred Venezuelan migrants? No. They want to build a massive incarceration machine, and they were so desperate to do it that they were willing to give this guy what he wanted, which is these 9 guys, some of whom are informants for the United States. And this is what makes this especially just outrageous. If you actually take their word for it, that they're trying to, rid this country of violent gang members. Informants are your most valuable assets against the gangs. That's why you never turn on an informant. You turn on an informant, not only you make it much, much harder to infiltrate, disrupt, and prosecute gang members in the United States, but you also make it very difficult to recruit future informants, because now who's going to cooperate with the United States government if they suspect that you'll just be sold out? If the president of El Salvador needs a political favor, it's like an extraordinarily reckless thing to do from a law enforcement perspective, as is talked about here. In promising to terminate the informant arrangements, current and former Justice Department officials say Rubio threatened to undercut years of work by U.S. law enforcement to apprehend and secure the cooperation of high-ranking members of one of the world's most deadly gangs. The deal is a deep betrayal of U.S. law enforcement, whose agents risked their lives to apprehend the gang members, said Douglas Farah, a U.S. contractor who worked with federal officials to investigate and help dismantle the MS-13 gang. Who would ever trust the word of U.S. law enforcement or prosecutors again? Farah asked. Farah said, so yeah, the way they get these informants is they bust guys and they say, okay, you could either go to jail for life or you're going to help us infiltrate these gangs and bring to justice more of the gang members. Who, after this, is going to take that deal?
Right.
So you are severely undermining your own government's ability to apprehend violent criminals, which is what you're all about, is it not? Aren't you all about law and order? Aren't you all about ridding the country of these gang members who you've called foreign terrorists? So then why are you taking such a reckless action that so deeply undermines your own government's ability to do that? Because that's not what this is about, and it never was what this is about. This is about accessing as many prisons as you can.
Well, and having an extra constitutional offshore prison where you don't have to follow any court orders. You don't have to worry about how people are treated. I mean, this is just a logical extension of what the CIA did with rendition, with sending prisoners to places where they can torture.
Exactly. It's their own Guantanamo Bay. It's better than Guantanamo from their perspective because it's another country's business. That's the argument they made for why they couldn't bring back Gilmar Brego Garcia. Well, it's not our jurisdiction anymore. He's already there. right?
Well, and in order to get this bullshit indictment against him, they actually released actual traffickers.
Right. Exactly. At least 3 of the MS-13 leaders Bukele requested had divulged incriminating information about members of his government suspected of cutting deals with the gang, officials said. One of them, Cesar Lopez Larios, whom U.S. prosecutors charged last year with directing MS-13's activities in the United States, was sent back to El Salvador 2 days after the Rubio-Bukele phone call. The others remain in the United States, waiting to learn whether they too will be handed over to the very government they were cooperating against. So they don't have all of them yet. The State Department dismissed criticism of Rubio's deal-making, saying the secretary's diplomacy allowed the United States to deport hundreds of alleged members of the gang Tren de Aragua, or TDA, to El Salvador before they were later transported to Venezuela, where the group was founded. So the government is saying, yeah, no, this is a nothing burger because, yeah, we had to give up our informants, but that's what needed to be done in order to access this prison where we sent hundreds of alleged gang members. Now, the only problem with that is that 90% of migrants sent to El Salvador lacked U.S. criminal record. 75% lacked any criminal record at all. So they have still, I mean, this is months and months after the fact, they have still not produced any compelling evidence that suggests that most of these men that they sent there were gang members. We heard horror stories. There was the soccer player that got sent there because of the crown tattoo. There was the gay hairdresser that got sent there. They still can't build a case against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That's why they're desperate to either enter him into a plea deal or deport him. Notice they're trying everything they can do except have a trial. They do not want to have a trial. They do not want to actually put him on the stand and present evidence. They either want to force him out of the country or force him into a plea deal.
Well, and if they go into court, any decent defense attorney is going to expose the fact that they got the grand jury indictment in the first place by offering sweetheart deals to human traffickers.
Exactly. So Chris Van Hollen, who went to El Salvador to try and get Kilmar Abrego Garcia out at CCOT, he tweets this out. He says, Trump and his cronies say they want to take down MS-13, but behind closed doors, they're conspiring with Bukele to hide evidence of his government's collusion with MS-13. Also, he can imprison individuals disappeared from the U.S. in violation of their due process rights. Shameful. Yeah, that's exactly what this is. This is about getting access to an overseas concentration camp. That is essentially what this is. Has nothing to do with immigration, has nothing to do with law and order, has nothing to do with a crackdown on gangs. Again, it bears repeating. Your most valuable asset in cracking down on gangs are your informants. You would never give up your informants if you were serious about infiltrating gangs and prosecuting gang members. You would never give up an informant if that was your goal.
Right.
John Harwood says, so to be able to send immigrants from America to the El Salvador torture prison, Marco Rubio agreed to betray Justice Department informants helping the prosecution of MS-13 gang members here. Another window into his character. Yes. Well, you talk about a man of just extraordinarily low character. They kind of hinted at this in the Washington Post video about how this is an interesting evolution, or what do they call it?
Evolution.
It's an interesting evolution in the ascendancy of Marco Rubio,
President Trump, who is
a one-time critic of President Trump. Yeah, here is Marco Rubio when he was campaigning against Donald Trump in 2016.
I will never quit. I will never stop until we keep a con man from taking over the party of Reagan and the conservative movement. He's a con man. He's a con man. He's a con man. I'll tell you why. Number one, look, people are angry and frustrated and scared about the future. Okay? People are working harder than they've ever worked in their lives, and they're running in place. And he swoops in and is taking advantage of that. He's taking advantage of that. He's telling people, I'm going to fight for the little guy. I'm fighting for the working class. Here's what he doesn't tell them. He has spent a career in business, 50 years, sticking it to the little guy.
So a guy who can turn on a dime for his own career's sake, will, of course, turn around and betray informants who are some of, once again, law enforcement's most valuable assets. And then they're going to preach about how law and order they are and how determined they are to keep America safe. This is not keeping Americans safe. If you are concerned about, foreign gangs operating within the United States, you should be calling for his resignation. Okay? Delilah says, "Is this true?" And no one sees the problem with this. Yeah, that's a good point. And this is part of my overall take on this. If a story like this broke 30 years ago, this would be round the clock, 24-hour news cycle, and he would be facing calls to resign from members within his own party. He would have to resign over this if this happened 30 years ago. If you are undermining your own government's ability to infiltrate gangs and prosecute gang leaders in this way, you would be run out of the job. You would be forced to resign. The fact that this just kind of got lost in the news cycle, that says a really dire thing about just the state of our system, that the administration would just defend him very casually. Yeah, well, that was the deal we had to make in order to get access to the prison. And because he made this deal, we were able to deport hundreds of Tren de Aragua members, even though all reporting says that the vast majority of people you sent there were not violent gang members. We're not. So you kneecap your own Justice Department's ability to prosecute the gang members who are here, also that you could send a couple hundred people, vast majority of whom are not gang members, to a foreign torture prison without due process. That is a wild and terrifying story. And the fact that that is not everywhere on everyone's feeds just tells you how far this country has fallen and how broken our democratic system really is. Because if there were any such thing as accountability, Marco Rubio would be facing calls to resign from every corner of government across both parties. And instead, this is a B tier news story. It didn't even make our thumbnail today.
Yeah, a lot of what this administration does strikes you as stuff that if they were cooler would have come out of a weed session.
Yeah.
An all night smoking up kind of. Yo. All right. So listen. There are these swamps in Florida, right?
Right. Yeah.
There are these swamps. Yeah. The way these guys are, it seems more like they wrote this shit down on the back of a napkin at a diner where they were all splitting the check and decided to just go with it. Because it's amazing that they would actually go ahead with plans like this, like Alligator Alcatraz. This is very much like that. Like, it seems like in a brainstorming session, somebody was like, listen, why don't we send them to an offshore prison?
Right.
Well, what countries might do that? Oh, Bukele, he might do it. He's like an extra out of Miami Vice. Like, he's not going to say no, right?
He looks like the stunt double in an episode of Ozark. It looks like one of the guys in Ozark who's shaking them down.
What, he's going to say no? He'll love the idea. And then they just actually went ahead and did it. But if you look at overall what the agenda of this group is, of this administration, I mean, it's really conservatism caricatured and on steroids and without any kind of moral center. Like, I don't feel there's no such thing as moral conservatism, even where I might agree with it, or disagree with it, rather. This is not that. This is simply a caricature of conservatism. It is unrestrained greed for the wealthy and control and punishment for the population.
Right.
That's it. That's their whole agenda. And everything they do is in service of that. Any other explanation you have for what they do will not fit the facts as well as that one.
Right. Well, of course. Yeah, of course. And this is, a hallmark of fascism is just preoccupation with crime and punishment. Right.
Yep.
And
they have nothing else to offer.
Yeah, you have nothing else to offer except the insistence that what you are doing is making the society safe. And that's why a story like this, there's just such a man bites dog element to it, because there's nothing you could do to better undermine the government's ability to protect the public from gang members than surrender informants to a foreign country. Not only does that hurt you in the moment because you lose the informants you have, it hurts you down the road because who's going to cooperate with you if they know you're going to sell them out at the first opportunity?
Well,
it's
one of those things
reckless and destructive
you
thing to do.
absolutely don't do, like attack under a flag of truce.
Right, exactly.
Because it's a trick you can only do once, and then you've lost the ability to use the flag of truce.
Exactly. It's just it's extraordinary. It's really extraordinary how, I mean, this thematically on the show today, Trump gets a question about how American farmers feel about importing Argentinian beef. He doesn't bother to say a fucking word for the American farmer. And now you have a situation like this where you're making the country less safe. Also, you can gain access to this foreign fucking torture prison. Most of the people you sent there weren't violent gang members. So what is that about? That's about building a massive surveillance state. It's about building a prison state. That's what this is.
I was looking at a story, maybe we'll do it on Thursday, about how ICE has ordered all kinds of shit you shouldn't need for their mission. Bombs. What is that for?
Yeah, what the hell is that for?
That's for it to turn them into a domestic army that they're going to use against you.
Right.
We've said this from the beginning.
Yep, of course. Absolutely. Vienticus Prime says, don't worry about the show, Russell. I'll fill in for you. LOL. Thank you. China Shill says, I don't know, Russ. I've had customers reject perfectly good ginger because I told them it was from China, and I doubt it's a quality issue. You really think Chinese ginger is low quality? Deeply unserious chefs. Yeah, I mean, how could you think Chinese ginger is low quality?
Where do you live? Doesn't he live on the West Coast?
I think he does live on the West Coast. Yeah. All right. 3 Tom the Bomb says, ex-Bernie bros, labor union leftists, and disenchanted MAGA folks make up much of our ranks. Learn the history of the working class struggle and start organizing nationwide. Let's fight back. ACP.US. Thank you, 3 Tom the Bomb. Appreciate that. All right, what do we got here? William Ellick says, betrayed, lied, broke promises, but we love Trump. What the fuck? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, seriously, like, what part of he does not give a fuck if you drop dead in the street? He'd probably, in Scrooge fashion, embrace the cutting down of the excess population, the surplus population. Like, what part of that do you not get? How obvious do they need to make this?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Eric Torres says, who the fuck looked at Marco Rubio as a pick and said, yep, Trump, he's the peace president? Well, you know who looked at that and said they were okay with that? 99 out of 100 United States senators. Marco Rubio was confirmed 99-0. One of them didn't vote. I forget who. But yeah, not a single senator voted against Marco Rubio. They all trusted that he would be a voice of reason.
He's one of them. He's one of them. Yeah. He's in the club.
Exactly. And the irony is, in all the ways that matter, he is one of them, right? Like he does toe the line in terms of the U.S. imperial policy, which so does Donald Trump, right? The Ukraine war is not over. He's stoking war with Iran now. And Marco Rubio is all for that. And people thought Trump was against that, but he really wasn't. I think what has people surprised about Rubio is just how he has so embraced the sort of nationalist sort of drive of Donald Trump, because Rubio has really been as loyal a foot soldier as you can imagine when it comes to like the deportations and, building the bullshit case against Rumeysa Ozturk and suspending the visas. Like, I think that's what they're surprised about. Because on the other stuff, really, Trump bent to him more than he bent to Trump. I mean, Trump ran on ending the Ukraine war in a day. Rubio was a Ukraine hawk until it became unfashionable to be. But, who came to who in that situation, right? All right, what do we got here? Bonzo Beans, thanks for the $1 donation. Says, update on Misty. Yeah, we will reach back out to Misty probably after the election day, maybe end of this year or early next year, and see about that. We've been in touch a little bit, but not very much. So we don't have an update on that right now. as of yet. All righty. That is our show today, folks. Thank you very much all for being here. Appreciate seeing you all. As always, we are off tomorrow, but we are back on Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. Once again, Thursday will be the last time we see you before Russ's tour. So if you need tickets for that, go to dudissidents.com/tour. And if you can't get tickets for that because you don't live anywhere near here, become a member and watch live on Saturday night. That'll be a lot of fun. Thank you all very much for being here. Appreciate you as always. We will see you back here on Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Until then, thanks for spending the afternoon with us. Thanks to the mods for keeping the peace in the chat. You all be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.